Hey everyone!
Hey everybody! Welcome to WordCast number 65. We're at now. I got that right this time. All right. So we're on WordCast number 65 now, guys. Basically, we're gonna blabber at you about Intel and Daniel's notifications going off again, and the Google event, and also a million other things. Because for whatever reason, this is the biggest. This actually, I think this is the actually biggest legit doc we've ever had.
Yeah.
It's insane.
One thing to note that we wanted to talk about this week, but we've decided to wait on for a few reasons.
We might brush it a little.
I think we should just.
You think we should just?
Wait.
Okay,
yeah.
so you guys,
the big hack. If you guys have heard about this, essentially there was reports about a hack pertaining to putting chips in server hardware. I'm not going to get too much into it. It's really complicated. It's also being much more harshly denied than we would expect, even from something that is not true.
Yeah, it's
I feel like
kind of weird.
The whole situation's odd. Reports are still coming out, so I think that both for the sake of time for making this video and also for the sake of accuracy, it's best to just wait.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, I'm changing my chair's adjustments while he talks.
Yes.
Because that's what we do, because this is the most professional podcast on the planet.
Oh, 105%.
That is not a number.
Actually, it is a number.
I know.
Then why'd you say it's not?
I don't know.
Okay.
So we're going to go ahead and jump into the Intel stuff instead of blabbering too much about other stuff. And yeah, this is insane. We don't even have the... oh, no, we do have the bullshit benchmarks in here. Mm-hmm. Good.
Yeah,
good. I'm excited for that. Yeah, that one's pretty bad.
So,
that one's... okay, so we'll just start...
with the hardware.
Yeah, so the rants will come a little later. We'll start with the hardware first.
So Intel announced the new 9000 series, which we all expected. The i5 9600K, i7 9700K.
But by new, he means it's still 14 nanometer.
Okay, but it's still the new product.
No, but you went new. You said new. Unless I just saw that out of the corner of my eye and I was wrong.
Hand.
Oh, I thought you were like new, and I'm like, yeah, new because...
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. No. So yeah, all of these chips have soldered IHS, which is great.
About time.
Yeah.
About time. We've been asking for so long, Intel. And the best part is Intel's been making the excuse for so long at this point of the fact that cost savings and also that there's not a big difference and all these other things, longevity, other stupid stuff like that. And now they're finally doing it. And it's like, oh, so are you just crawling back on all the shit you said? But
ultimately, this is the type of thing where it's like, yes, they took too long in doing it. But credit where credit is due, you finally listen to your customers.
Jeez, it's about time.
Yeah. So
now, of course,
I'm glad they did that.
If you're a company that sells exclusively things for delitting, you need to be a little careful right now.
Rip. So, some other things across all the chips is that there are some, we don't know to the extent yet, but some level of Spectre and Meltdown hardware and software and microcode mitigations in place.
Which, as you'd expect, I mean, they said that they were going to have that stuff fixed, of course. Intel said they're going to have it fixed in the next hardware release. They said that a while back.
Yeah.
But of course, this is not necessarily a guarantee that's fixed, considering how big it's been.
They specified mitigation, meaning it's somewhat dealt with.
Yeah.
Not completely
The term
fixed.
mitigation means towards fixing, in case you guys didn't know what it actually means.
They don't, I mean, even if they felt like it was completely fixed, they would not want to say that.
Yeah, because then they could get sued
Until
and stuff.
they've tested it, other security researchers have tested it, 5 years have gone by, and then they've tested it again.
Exactly.
Like, this is not the type of thing you want to mess with, so they're going to say mitigations.
And realistically, you always kind of have to say mitigations because...
Yeah.
Crap happens. Yeah. So, but we can go over a quick spec rundown here.
Yeah, let's start with the 9900K. So this one is, the recommended retail price is $488. It's been launching at $499 at most retailers.
As you kind of expect to. Yeah, I mean, there, MSI, who knows how much the, retailers are being charged for this, but all in all, it's an expensive chip.
Yeah, and also the one thing that I want to point out, all of the recommended retail pricing is at 1,000 or more units being purchased by the retailer.
Yeah,
and we don't know because pre-orders have been really odd this time around, in which we've seen some sites put them up, take them down, put them up, take them down.
Yeah,
we've seen a lot of really odd things, and so I'm wondering if retailers just didn't get very much, and so they're trying to figure out how they want to handle that.
That's possible.
Which would also explain why every retailer has a price increase above MSRP. Normally, you might see with something like this, if they were all getting good amounts, some have, wildly different pricing. But no, we're seeing across the board, it's pretty much everyone's at about the same price, with the exception that for some reason Best Buy is $10 higher.
Which is a little odd.
They're normally
and
the ones that are
that's
good
including
about
their
MSRP.
online price,
Yeah.
not their in-store price.
Yeah.
Like Best Buy in general.
And normally they're much better about MSRP because they're an established retailer.
Yeah, in this space specifically.
Amazon and Newegg have always been more to fluctuate with their pricing than Best Buy has. And
Yeah,
so
Best Buy usually
odd.
charges, they have a consistent price and then they do sales, whereas Amazon and Newegg are fighting each other algorithmically all the time.
Yeah.
And so they fluctuate by the hour sometimes, right? Whereas
Yeah.
Best Buy usually is pretty consistent with the pricing until they decide to do a sale because it's been around for X amount of time
Yeah.
or whatever.
So yeah, the 9900K is an 8-core, 16-thread, with a 3.6 gigahertz base, 5 gigahertz single core boost.
Now, of course, the big point is overclocking
Yes.
with any of these.
Which I'll talk about in a second, because we have some numbers on that finally.
Yeah.
The 8-core turbo with the base cooler and everything is 4.7 gigahertz, so across all cores, which is pretty cool. 4-core turbo is 4.8, 2-core turbo is 5, so you actually get 5 gigahertz with 2 and 1 core.
So one thing I wanted to mention here, though, when it comes to boosting from Intel, is there is some complications that come into play. That's going to assume certain levels of cooling performance and stuff.
Yeah.
And also that's going to assume that it's going outside of the TDP. I do not imagine that they have 8 cores at 4.7 gigahertz in a 95 watt TDP.
Oh, definitely not.
And so it's very similar to, it's akin to what AMD's running with Ryzen with their Precision Boost Overdrive. PBO is like, hey, do you have more thermal headroom? Do you have more power headroom? Then we'll push your silicon further.
Yeah.
And Intel's boosts stuff works similarly. The point here, though, is I don't think Intel expects anybody to put a cooler so anemic that it can't hit that on it, unless you're building like an ITX rig, which at that point you probably should be keeping that kind of stuff in mind.
Yeah.
You know,
and
you should be doing something
you should
special.
Also, you should be expecting, if you aren't doing something special, less cooling performance, which means a little bit more throttling.
Yeah, right. Which in that case, I bet you like when the 9900 comes out, the non-K edition, you know, its 8-core boost is probably going to be like 4.2 or something much lower.
And then, so it's got 16 megabytes of L3 cache. The interesting thing, so we did get some overclocking numbers, and at least with the chips that were tested, they were able to get 5.3 on all cores on with an all-in-one cooler.
Now that 5.3 you said, right?
Yeah,
yeah, which is pretty significant.
They
Now,
got,
of course, who knows how lucky people are getting,
Yes,
right? You know,
yeah.
and Intel has been known to send out slightly better binned chips at the beginning, and I don't think it's something they necessarily do to reviewers. I think they just, their first production run that they send out tends to be the higher bin chips, and then they do the rest of the stuff later. I'm speculating here, of course.
I also wouldn't
but-
doubt if they use the lower binned chips to figure out the rest of how they want to do their product stack, and so they send the higher binned ones
and
out
then
first.
do more testing.
Yes,
That could be
because
too,
you
because they
gotta
always
build
release
out,
the other stuff
pick
later.
and choose how you want the 9900 to be binned versus the K and all of
Yes,
that. So
yes.
that's all got to play into that, and so that might be a factor.
That could be. So, point is, you know, I would expect somewhere in the realm of 5 gigahertz on all 8 cores, which of course is insane.
Yeah.
I mean, from AMD, we're seeing in best case scenarios 4.5 on across 8 cores. Now, I guess we can jump into the next one, but before we do the bullshit benchmarks, after we go finish the spec list, I do have some stuff I want to talk about the 9900K specifically.
If we're talking about the 9900K, talk about
Well, I want to. It might be a little ranty. I want to get through the specs so people aren't waiting for the
Okay.
specs. So,
it. So then next up is the 9700K. This one's recommended retail price is $375. We're seeing $400 essentially for the launch price at most retailers.
this one actually surprised me a little bit. Not because it wasn't leaked all over the freaking place, because it was. So I wasn't necessarily surprised it came out, but I'm just surprised that Intel did indeed go with this configuration in terms of core to hyperthreading. You know what I
Not
mean?
really.
I don't know. It just feels a little weird. So it's an 8 core with no hyperthreading.
Yeah.
So at that point, for just gaming, and I mean, since it's 8 cores, realistically for gaming and streaming, 9700K is going to do you pretty good. You don't probably really need to spend the extra. And I think that's the chip that in some ways is going to compete better with what AMD has offering wise, because it's like you're closer to that same price territory, still above it, but you're closer to that price territory, and you're going to be getting better gaming performance because of the higher clock speeds. And I think the clock speed bump will also help make up for the fact that AMD's got the extra threads.
Yes.
So this is the probably more competitive chip to
definitely,
AMD,
yeah.
although of course it's still a decent amount more expensive.
At this point, I've considered, outside of the extreme stuff, the i9 to be the top tier gaming. chip.
Yeah.
Not the one that most people, even at the higher end, should buy.
The i9 is generally like what they've been using that nomenclature for, at least in high performance desktops and laptops, has mostly been, ignore the dog, sorry, has mostly, I think, been to say this is the best you can possibly get from us on this current platform. Now, I don't really like them using the i9 terminology in Ultrabooks. That's something where I'm like, just please stop. But in terms of like, I think it's a good step up to kind of signify something different.
Yeah.
Anyway, so 8 cores, no hyperthreading.
Yeah.
Now,
so,
clock speed wise.
Yeah, it's got a 3.6 gigahertz base, similar to the i9, and then 4.9 gigahertz single core boost.
Oh, I wonder where that number
selectively chosen so that the i9 can be 5.0 gigahertz as the first
allegedly
chip.
Selectively
Most
chosen.
likely.
yeah, I would assume.
8-core turbo is 4.6 gigahertz. 4-core turbo is 4.7. 2-core is 4.8.
I like how it's one lower than on everything other than the 2-core.
Yeah.
It's 100 megahertz lower.
And then 12 megabits or megabytes of.
I'd be scared if it had only 12 megabits of cache.
12 megabytes of L3 cache. All in all, this seems like a pretty.
This is a really
solid
good chip all around, and this is something that maybe certain people we know, like Calvin, who's been on here, so I guess I can say his name. I was thinking, like, maybe I shouldn't. This might be a better direction for him to go versus spending
if Amazon
the extra.
had the pre-orders up, he would have pre-ordered it by now.
Did he didn't pre-order the 9900K though, right?
No, he was going to do the 7, but
he's going to do
Amazon.
the 7. Okay, is that still his plan?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think it's good, especially if he's not going to stream a ton in the future.
And he mostly plays WoW.
Yeah. Now, of course, if he's going to stream, probably his best bet, even with this chip, would probably be to just go ahead and use NVENC instead of X264. But anyway, though,
And then we've got the i5 9600K. This one, I actually thought it would be more expensive. I was kind of thinking closer to 300 even.
Well, I would agree with you if the core to hyperthreading was different. So it's a 6-core with no hyperthreading. If it was a 6-core with 12 threads...
I didn't expect that because then that would put it in a really awkward spot as far as thread count compared to the 9700K.
It would?
It would just make it look weird to people that...
Don't know, maybe.
Yeah. It's like when you see a more expensive chip with less threads and threads are being advertised on the lower chip, you're like... Wow.
It is an advertising nightmare, which is frustrating. I don't know. I'm sick of Intel acting like SMT costs so much. So, you know what I mean? They've always done that where they hyper price their hyper threading name for SMT, whereas AMD is dumping that into most chips, and it's only the absolute where every cent matters where they're pulling that off because it does save some money.
So pricing wise, it's $262 is the recommended price, and then $280 is about what we've been seeing it at. Now that excites me because I think that we'll end up seeing, after a few months go by, probably $250 for this.
Which is a very good price for this chip. I mean, you're looking at 6 cores rather than 8. Versus for the around this, that's very similar budget to like a 2700. You're looking at 6 cores instead of 8 cores, and you're looking at no hyperthreading. But if you're exclusively gaming, right, your options if you're just a gamer basically that has a pretty good budget for a PC. On AMD, it's like 2700 level stuff, or it's going to be this. And realistically, if you're only going to game and you're not planning to super multitask while gaming or anything, this is going to be the better option because it's the same price, but you're going to get higher clock speeds. And of course, the higher clock speeds here, this is one thing that's kind of like, is the clock speeds are indeed higher, and you'll be able to overclock a lot higher, but I kind of feel like the actual turbo speeds that are being advertised here aren't that competitive with AMD.
What we have is 3.7 gigahertz base clock, 4.6 gigahertz single core boost, with the 6-core turbo being 4.3, 4-core being 4.4, 2-core being 4.5.
So
I'm very interested to see what this kind of overclock to.
Because that's my thing is Precision Boost Overdrive will push a lot of like 2700Xs into the like 4.3, 4.4 range. And so if you're looking at similar clock speeds, IPC, as we know, is basically identical between the two, especially comparing Zen Plus versus this versus whatever this is. Is this Skylake at this point?
I don't remember. But what could last gen's like the 8000 series overclock to pretty consistently?
So like the 8700K could pretty consistently hit 5.1.
Do you know about the i5?
The i5 I think was 4.8 to 5. It depends.
Because I was going to say, if these can, especially with the soldered, can hit 5, pretty consistently.
Yeah, then that's a big deal. Of course, the thing, though, is looking at this from a gamer's perspective, learning to overclocking isn't a particularly simple task.
No.
And unless you're buying it from somebody that knows how to do that and offers that as a service, as we do.
But Intel also offers the overclock protection, which is going to allow more people to, for very little cost, be more comfortable
Overclocking. This
it.
is true.
Yeah.
This is true.
Which I hope that AMD introduces at some point. Because
I would love it if they did. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes them money in the end. Really it does. Like, it's not,
Yeah. But, I mean, even if the basic just upping the multiplier.
The snaps.
Yes, upping the multiplier and not really messing with the voltage or anything. If that can get you, 4.4-ish, like that would be...
Well, what you could do realistically is you could probably do not much of a voltage increase, not even touching it, and do like 4.3 L cores, 4.4 L cores, right?
Yeah.
But even then, I mean, Precision Boost Overdrive is going to push you close to that same realm.
I mean, that base turbo does too.
Yeah. So at that point,
but yeah,
but
so
no,
I
we
mean,
need to be, I think, fairly experienced at it. But I do think that as more information goes out about how overclocking, how to do it correctly,
overclocking is becoming more and more normalized. I think among the
it is,
the
and it
PC
should be,
enthusiast
because it's just
You might as well
finding where your chip performs best.
Yeah.
That's all it really is finding what bin level your chip is.
get the most out of whatever chip you get.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's ultimately what you should be doing.
I would imagine
Yeah.
so.
And then this has 9 megabytes of L3 cache, which puts it at the same cache per core as the 9700K.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
I mean, cache doesn't affect gaming that much anyway. That's for more productivity focused things. So before we get into the bullshit benchmarks that we'll talk about in a minute, I wanted to mention, here's my thing with the 9900K, is it is a very fast chip.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the best gaming chip, which we'll get into more of how Intel loves to advertise that with the bullshit benchmarks. But it is the best gaming chip out there, or it's going to be. I can say that basically perfectly. Mm-hmm. I'm confident in saying that, right? But here's my thing. For the same price, you can get 12 cores with 24 threads from AMD, and I'm not talking 1000 series Threadripper. I'm talking 2000 series, like Precision Boost Overdrive hitting 4.3 gigahertz on all cores type stuff. Really, really high-end stuff. But here's where the differences come into play, because obviously you do still get that edge out in performance by a good amount with the 8-core 9900K versus something like a 2920X, right? But the other advantages that you get on that platform, even if you're just a gamer, I feel like justifies the no cost increase, because you're sitting here, you've got 64 lanes instead of 16. You've got...
It's 40 when you count the chip being in the motherboard.
On Threadripper?
No, on...
Okay, but that's not exactly how that works. I won't get into too much detail, but the extra lanes come from the platform controller hub, which only has 4 lanes to the CPU. So that means anything connected to the platform controller hub can use up to the 4 lanes, but multiple things connected to the platform controller hub can't use that much at the same time. So if you have 3 SSDs
but how many gamers have...
No, right, okay, but what I'm getting at...
If we're talking about for gamers...
Well, what I'm talking about, I'll continue. So you get more memory channels, you get longer-term support from AMD, you get longer-term platform support, you get socket cross-compatibility, and you get a better upgrade path as a whole, and you get what are better boards for about the same price.
Yeah.
And I feel like most of those advantages just simply outweigh the I get better single-core performance, especially... now, it depends on what games you play, but especially... because we're seeing more and more games like Forza and Battlefield being able to push 8 cores pretty hard, then you're at the point where, okay, now you can get a 12 core, you've got extra cores for doing other stuff.
When in any gaming product has buying the peak performance for something been the best overall value? Never. But I feel like it's more extreme than ever, to a point that's I don't really think so.
I mean, you're getting a chip that is arguably, factoring in everything, not just chip performance, twice as good in terms of platform. And I just feel like the advantage is there. And because we're talking longevity, right? It's kind of where I'm coming from, I guess, is you're looking at a platform that's going to get you further with whatever you want to do with your rig in the future.
But if you're talking about longevity, having a chip that performs worse and having to upgrade that. Yes, you might not have to upgrade as much when you go to upgrade, but having to upgrade that chip sooner because of that
But
also
it doesn't
plays
perform I mean, it's slower single core, but
but it also doesn't clock as high for 8 cores.
No, you're right. It does not.
So it's not just single core that's slower.
Okay.
It's overall clocked slower.
It is, yes. Yeah, well, okay. That's complex, but I don't know. I just feel like
there's people that still use 2700Ks very well.
Yeah.
And I think that this would be a good, or could be, well, I mean, obviously we'll have to wait and see how things progress, but something like the 9900K could be another one of those, you don't upgrade your shit for 5 years.
But I think it can be the same thing could be said, especially with games being more multi-core optimized. Mm-hmm. The same thing could be said with AMD, and you get a better platform overall. You do. And you're going to get, and especially because you're not overclocking to the extreme levels that these are, you're not pushing the silicon as hard, you're going to get better longevity out of the silicon, period.
What if you don't push this to the max? And you still would get much higher clocks.
Again, it comes down to much higher clocks doesn't necessarily mean substantially better gaming performance.
I'm not saying it's better for everyone.
I guess.
I'm just saying there's a place for it in the market. There's never when it comes to the like peak performance product for any lineup of anything, is it for everyone, even in the high spender club? There's always times and places for everything.
No, right. I don't know. I just don't like the pricing on it. I just even $50 cheaper, which if we start seeing that right there does help a little, I think, with that, because
I mean,
it's
we
not
probably
like we're seeing...
will. We're already seeing the MSRP is $15 less than the actual price you're buying it for.
Yeah, right.
And I mean, it's not like Intel chips don't go down in price over the year.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I just have weird feelings about it, I guess. It is a beast of a chip. I know it's going to be a monster, and I wouldn't be surprised if in multi-core benchmarks at overclocked, both, Threadripper, a 12-core, and this, you're not seeing too huge of an advantage going to the Threadripper. So, I don't know. Yeah, I guess I just feel like it's in a weird place in the market.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is, but I feel like for anyone buying like peak gaming hardware, it's always been a weird place.
I guess it has.
Like,
of course, I have a bias because I do come from the very much so insane use of a computer for multitasking. Cores matter a lot to me. RAM matters a lot to me. PCIe lanes matter a lot to me. And I think that does provide...
PCIe lanes don't matter that much to most people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's true.
Like,
right?
I've got a graphics card. If I get anything else, it's going to be a capture card.
I mean, dude, PCIe lanes, I'm insane, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, you are.
Because,
one last thing I wanted to mention on the 9900K before we get into the benchmarking stuff.
This was fun.
With LN2, somebody overclocked it to 6.9 gigahertz on all cores.
If
that was sustainable...
we should re-mention that on our episode 69 podcast.
Okay. If that was sustainable... That would be insane.
Yeah. Now, unfortunately, it's not. Well, I think you could sustain somewhere in the high fives on, a chiller or something like that, right?
Now, if you want to speak of things that aren't sustainable, we can talk about some benchmarks.
Okay, now we get into the... All right, so we talk about the Intel releasing really very good chips, it looks like. Exciting.
They could have had like a year too expensive for some people, but like it's a pretty good hardware.
It depends
launch.
what your needs are too, right? Like if you're streaming and you're on a tight budget, you're still better going with AMD, right? They had a good place in the market. I felt like this was making them a lot more competitive.
Yeah. They listened to consumers on some things finally. So it's like all in all, this was lining up to be maybe not the best launch for Intel, but like a pretty good one.
It was going to be a good one, and I was going to say I think it's probably better competition-wise than the 8 series was, right? The 8000 series. But then Intel just decided to poop everywhere. So, I mean, this is like a shit mop, all right? I don't even know. What do you mean? I'm saying things that don't make sense because I don't even know how they let this go by. I mean, you put stop with an H because that's how bad this is, okay?
Yeah, but I didn't say that because of how bad the issue was. I said that because of how many posts on Reddit there were.
Okay,
so
I
have a multi-Reddit. I have a multi-Reddit that has the hardware subreddit, Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA. And
Good multi-Reddit. Yeah.
It's just a PC hardware Multi-ready,
Yeah.
that's it. And I had at least 12 posts that were about this.
This is bad, guys.
I couldn't
So
get
this
through my
is-
feed without seeing this on every page.
This is bad and frustrating, and I'm shame on Intel and also shame on the guys that did the benchmarking. Yeah, so going into this a little bit deeper, so these benchmarks are a big problem, and there's a lot of articles that have written about this being a problem. Steve from Gamers Nexus talked about this a whole bunch. Basically, what it comes down to is Intel is publishing benchmarks that are really sketchy and poorly done, and they're not necessarily benchmarks that are potentially fudged, which people think they might
Yeah,
be.
it's outright bullshit.
I mean, it's just there's so many flaws in the form of testing that was done that it's just a huge problem.
Yeah. Either this is like some of the worst gross incompetence in the tech industry we've seen in a long time, or
it's
there's some
fudging.
malicious intent by somebody on Intel's team that needs to be fired.
That could be. This is bad. This is really bad. So, these tests were done by Principled
Yeah,
Technologies.
Principled Tech.
It's a dumb name.
Yeah, it is.
So they did benchmarks, and there is a massive amount of flaws in simply the way they did benchmarks. First off, they were using in-game benchmarks and using the in-game FPS counters for some of their benchmarks, but the ones that don't have in-game FPS recording, they were using fraps. So
I was
first
hoping you were going to say they estimated it, even though I knew that wasn't the case.
No, they're using fraps, which we've already seen, both in-game and fraps, not being accurate indications of
They
benchmark.
should have used the NVIDIA one.
There's so many other things they could have used
No, they
to
should have
do
used
this.
the NVIDIA one.
It's just, Anyway, so huge problems in terms of just right off the bat. Failed. They don't know what they're doing. But to go into further extent, let me read off one of these fun benchmarks for you guys. But to give you some actual results here, this was just beautiful. So Ashes of the Singularity, which is a pretty CPU-bound but also very well multi-core benchmark, which is also really good at using lots of cores. It's basically a benchmark. They call it, it's technically a game, but it's basically a benchmark. So we're showing right now, according to Principled Technologies, the 9900K getting 57.3 FPS. Okay. But they're also showing the Ryzen 7 2700X getting only 38.3 FPS. Which is a, that gives Intel a 50% advantage according to them. Now,
if you look at
first off, that's not exactly how that works, guys, because 50% advantage implies 50% better performance. I mean, I guess that... okay, maybe that's fairly close, that metric. But point is, now let's go to... this is from Extreme Tech. Let's go to what they got in their Ashes of the Singularity CPU
This was
test.
from their original 2700X review.
Yes. So it has 8700K in it
Yes.
also, which we'll mention. But the 2700X...
It got 52.
52,
FPS.
not 38, not 40, not 45.
Yeah.
52, which, by the way, puts it right where you'd expect it to be for such a lower clocked chip. And also, obviously the boost clock is really, really high across all the cores on the 9900K versus the 2700X. That was probably tested with Precision Boost Overdrive off, which would make it more competitive. So we're probably realistically looking at, 3 or 4 FPS, not 5 or 6. But still, that right there is that's an outright made up number. Or how did they even get a metric that inaccurate? That's where the question comes into play. That's what people are wondering is, how are they that wrong? Okay, so as Daniel just reminded me, and then, well, actually more so just informed me, so it looks like the way they were doing this is they were testing the 2700X as a quad core.
Yeah.
They were testing it literally with half of its cores turned off, which is horrible, because first off, it makes you wonder, how did they get this without making up the numbers? Okay, well, now they're not making up the numbers, so they can't be sued for making up the numbers. It is still comparing a 2700X to a 9900K legally. But that is, right there, the fact that Intel, their PR team, let this go through. This is at the point, hey, don't buy the 9000 series because they do this crap. This is the same kind of reason that I don't use any Facebook products. Because they're a horrible company, not because everything they make sucks. The same thing goes to here. When a company behaves this way, you have to start to go, no, I'm not going to support that. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's
I
just
think
frustrating. And
it's-
at least you have another option now,
Yeah.
if you are in that
I
set.
think that seeing how, other than their just first PR response, but how they Intel actually fully responds to this is going to be very interesting.
Yes. Now, if they respond with, it was a disgruntled employee and we fired him, and they actually have record of firing somebody or multiple people,
That's one thing.
Maybe that's one thing,
Yeah.
yeah. That's still...
There's still some
but-
additional layers of checking on things that need to be implemented going
Absolutely.
forward.
Yeah.
But that could at least be we see how this happened in the first place, how this was so stupid. But if this is just like
horrible.
we're sorry.
Then it's like, excuse me?
Yeah.
Not cool.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff that's like... And, okay, actually, so Intel did have an official response to it, by the way, too. Oh, I can't... Let me see if I can find that. Okay, guys. So first, I wanted to mention that also another thing that they did incorrectly, principal technology-wise, is they tested the AMD chips with the AMD box cooler, which by all means is a decent box cooler, 100 times better than what Intel includes in the box. But the 9900K, as you'd expect, doesn't come with a box cooler because that wouldn't really work. So what they did is they took a Noctua NH-U14S. By the way, has no trouble cooling a Threadripper 1950X, one of the best air coolers on the market. And they used that to test the Intel chip, and the AMD chip was on the stock Wraith cooler that comes with it for free on a chip that's already cheaper. So that's already a problem. But also, Gamers Nexus reported something, and full credit to them. They did a really, really good video on this. You should definitely go watch it. I'll try to link them here.
And on top of that,
link the
they're
video.
doing an interview with Principal Technologies that's already been recorded, and they're editing it today and putting it out probably tomorrow.
Okay, good. I'm very excited. Gamers Nexus does awesome
Yeah.
reporting. Apparently, they live very close to Principal Technology, so
Okay.
it worked out very well.
Yeah.
I think he said in this video here, actually, when he's talking about it, he's like, we're going to go walk over there and see if they'll let us in. So anyway, this is Intel's response to Gamers Nexus. We are deeply appreciative of the work of the reviewer community and expect that over the coming weeks, additional testing will continue to show that the 9th gen Intel Core TM i9-9900K is the world's best gaming processor. Okay, that's not what we're asking. Principal Technologies conducted this initial testing using systems running in spec configured to show CPU performance and has published the configurations used. The data is consistent with what we have seen in our labs, and we look forward to seeing the results from additional third-party testing in the coming
So pretty
weeks.
much Intel responded to the benchmarks as far as how they are for their chip and ignored the AMD part.
Yeah, well, the thing
That's
is...
what it comes across to me.
Well, no, because they're saying, though... Okay. Yeah, the data is consistent. Now, of course, that depends. Is that data consistent with what they've seen in their labs on the AMD part as well, or what? Right. But
Yeah.
if they tested AMD, maybe.
I have a feeling they were just talking about
Their
i9.
chips. Like, oh, yeah, this is what we see with ours.
Yeah.
But it's like, do you guys not... I don't know. I don't want to give Intel the benefit of the doubt, though, because I don't think they've ever deserved that, because it's usually the other way around. So... Thank you, Intel, for probably being a horrible company, as we'd expect.
So did you happen to see this when it was like the original post when it was live on Intel's website? Because I'm wondering if something is that they actually did publish the configurations and it specified it was a 4-core mode and nobody realized it because they saw
you
the
wouldn't
benchmarks and
expect
thought it was
that.
bullshit and didn't read the fine print, because why would you?
I
You
don't
shouldn't be
know.
publishing bullshit benchmarks in the first place.
You have a good point there. You have
So,
a really good point there. I do not know.
I would be interested if there is a cached version of that site, if that actually had it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because-
I haven't looked into it enough. This news dropped today, guys.
Yeah,
So
it's
sorry
been
for a
crazy.
lot of cuts here. We've been kind of assembling this as we're going with the podcast here. Normally we have everything prepared in detail beforehand. So literally our document here said Intel bullshit benchmarks, and that's all the information we had. So, but point being, this is really, really, really sketchy and really.
And we'll definitely update you guys next week with what comes from the Principal Technologies interview.
Yes.
Because I think that will be very interesting.
That will be indeed.
In fact, by the time you're watching this, the Principal Technologies interview will probably be up.
Yeah, but we'll, of course, mention it a week from that, which is...
A week from 2 days from now.
Yeah.
Talk about the Xeon.
I'm going to talk about the Xeon. So we had Intel has more announcements, and now that we're back into the kind of good territory. So, we finally have some information regarding Intel's insane 28-core chip, which, by the way, they are, thank you for this, Intel, actually, calling it a Xeon and not an i9.
Mm-hmm.
I was worried they were going to call it another i9. So this is the Intel Xeon W3... I hate this. W-3175X. 3175. I think it's kind of crappy to say. I don't like it. It doesn't...
Xeon 3000 or 3175?
30, I don't know. I don't like it. So anyway, I complain about names sometimes.
Yeah, you do.
So this is a based on Skylake or Cascade Lake or whatever you want to call it. It's 14 nanometer plus times 100. So this is based on their server platform, as you'd expect, which makes sense why they call it Xeon. Their higher end of their server platform. This is based on LGA 3647 is the socket used for it.
It runs at 3.1 gigahertz stock, but it can boost up to 4.3. It features 6-channel DDR4, supports a lot of RAM.
Up to 512 gigabytes of RAM, and a 38.5 megabyte L3 cache. So anyway, has a TDP of 265 watts, 15 watts higher than AMD's 32-core, just in FYI.
So what you're saying is that you need this, you need 3 2080 Ti's.
4? Why would you go with 3?
No, because you got to have a capture card.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so 3 and a capture card. And then you need 2 power supplies, because the motherboard...
So yeah, the motherboard, which I'll get into a little more detail about actually, because that's almost more exciting. That is more exciting to me, and I think a lot of people than the 28-core. So it is unlocked, to mention, of course, as you'd expect. They mentioned that at the initial announcement of this. So it's unlocked Xeon, which is kind of weird to say that. And it also has 68 PCIe lanes, 24 go to the chipset, I guess, or 24 come from the chipset. So it has 44 on the CPU, and then there's the 24 coming from the chipset. So it doesn't mean you actually get 68 usable. I still don't like the way Intel advertises that. But I think jumping into the motherboard is actually what I'm a little bit more excited for, personally. So, 28 core, unlocked. It's going to be insanely expensive. I would estimate $3,000 minimum. But the motherboard, which is probably going to be $1,000 or so, maybe $1,500, wouldn't surprise me, is actually the most insane motherboard I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yes. Now, this is the first of these motherboards. We don't know. Asus tends to go crazy with their ROG stuff anyway, especially since they're announcing an ROG motherboard for a server.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, plus, who knows if any... maybe this is going to be basically the only board for that platform. It's such a niche area. I don't think very many people are going to spend money on it.
The only board for that platform to be an ROG board.
Oh, no, there's already boards for 3647.
Yeah.
They're just not boards designed for this CPU specifically. What I'm saying is for this CPU, designed as an ultra enthusiast system, it would not surprise me if there was just one board.
Yeah.
Because it's so ultra enthusiast, you don't sell much. Your profit margins have to be insane because you don't sell much. So this is the Super ATX form factor. Basically, it's SSI CEB, massive server size motherboard as you'd expect. 12 DIMM slots. So we're looking at, like we said, up to 512 gigabytes of RAM. But this is what blows my mind. 32 power phases. Now, we knew this when the original one was showed off, but still, 32 power phases.
Nice.
I literally put in here, maybe AMD is right about Shintel being so hot. Because 32 power phases, we only need 16 phases for Threadripper, the 32-core Threadripper 2990WX, and that's enough to push it like to its max overclock. You don't need like realistically
12 gigahertz.
I mean, I get it, right? You're already paying so much for a board. What's some more MOSFETs and stuff, right? No big deal. But still, this is just insane. 2 24-pin connectors designed to run off of 2 separate power supplies.
Yeah. Now, what was interesting to me is how they worded this, and this was from Asus's advertisement of this, not like Intel. Is that they were talking about that the dual 24 pins was for better efficiency.
Okay, so actually there is truth to that.
Yeah, but that's what they're talking about.
But why are they mentioning that instead of mentioning for more power,
Probably because it can't overclock much.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. It depends. So this board's probably going to be able to push the CPU to whatever you want, right? And I mean, two 24 pins, four 8-pin CPU connectors. By the way, you only need two for a Threadripper 32 core to get to max OC, realistically. And we're looking at two 6-pin PCIe power connectors for the board.
So, as you pointed out, how this is the only board so far that we've seen specifically designed for this specific chip.
Yes.
But we know that this chip will work on other boards. Presumably being the same socket.
We would assume, yes. It's just an unlocked Xeon that would work on other LG LGA 3647.
I'm wondering if, being that this is designed specifically for this chip, they just threw everything at it to give you that maximum range of whatever you want to do. To give it
yes.
Because this is an ROG board, to give it that high overclock potential for showing off.
And
if
if
Intel has somebody make a motherboard specifically so that someone can LN2 it and throw it up to 5 gigahertz with 28 cores, that would be a cool thing to show off and a reason why it has so much.
And so, like, this board, I'm not complaining at all, right? I want to make sure I'm not. This is actually incredible. This is amazing that Asus has put together something so insane, and I just love seeing it. And then they chose a Quantia. Now the 10 gigabit NIC on it is a Quantia, and that kind of makes me laugh because this is an Intel chip, and you would hope that Intel would put their good NICs on it.
Yeah.
But because the Quantia NICs tend to have some problems. They're great for consumers, but for when you're paying probably $1,000 to $1,500 for a board, I would hope to see an Intel NIC on there.
Yeah, come on, Intel, fire your bad NICs, keep your good ones.
Yeah, like for real. I mean, they fired Tim finally.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, but was Tim the reason that these benchmarks went live? Maybe that's why they fired him.
That's a good point. Point is, this is an amazing, amazing motherboard. I'm more excited about the board than I am the chip. The chip is cool, but I'm excited to see the performance of the chip and everything, but we can kind of expect where it's going to fall.
Yeah.
But the fact that a board that's this insane exists is just really nice for consumers.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been server boards that are up in that realm of insane, but they're, quad socket motherboards and stuff like that. For one CPU, one monolithic die. This is insane.
Yeah.
So now jumping into some AMD news instead of just Intel. There is some AMD stuff that's come out. This is nice to know. So the 2970WX and the 2920X have official release dates and a little bit like pricing and other information about them. Most of the stuff we already knew, nothing mind-blowing here, but it's just nice to know that they're actually coming out. So the 2970WX, which is the 24-core 48-thread part, is coming out. That and actually the 2920X are both coming out on October 29th. This year, so that's coming up really, really, really soon here. The 24 core is looking at 3 gigahertz base, 4.2 gigahertz for the boost. That's not including the precision boost overdrive. And then we're looking at 250 watt TDP for $1,300. And then the 2920X is 12 core, 24 threads, and we're looking at 3.5 gigahertz base, 4.3 gigahertz boost. Again, not including precision boost overdrive. 180 watt TDP for $650. Now, I wanted to note you can get a 1920X for $500 right now. So when you're looking at that, I mean, unless you really do want the extra single core performance, right, because you're game more than you do other stuff, then definitely you would want to spend the extra money. But saving $150 to get what is going to perform in multitasking and workstation stuff, functionally the same, especially if you're not overclocking.
Yeah.
Might as well go with the 1920X until they're sold out.
Yeah.
So really cool though. October 29th. Look forward to that. Cool.
Yeah.
That's about all I can say about it. It's cool.
Yep. Now let's talk about some Windows Update chaos.
There's a little bit more...
Okay, so Windows was rolling out the October 2018 update, the 1809, and they ended up having to pause the update from rolling out because...
A few minor things.
Yeah, like, files getting deleted randomly from various libraries.
Like someone lost 200 gigabytes, so I mean...
Ridiculous CPU usage, battery life issues, stability... So yeah, they ended up pausing the issues.
I mean, they did pause the issue because, I mean, the rollout, right? That is inherently an issue, so they paused the issues.
See, I'm not wrong.
You're not wrong. Why did I just let you get away with being wrong and tell you you're not wrong?
I wasn't wrong, though.
I don't understand why I let you get away with that.
They paused the rollout because of these issues.
You sure you didn't pause the issues because of the rollout?
I mean, kind of, yeah. So the... update is now live again. As of today, they pushed it out. The biggest concern right now is why they didn't deal with this initially, because some of these issues were reported by the Insider program.
Especially there was the. Whoa, that was a bad sentence. So the heightened CPU usage, and not just heightened usage, but also incorrect reporting of CPU usage, has been something that was talked about with the Windows Insider program for a very long time. It's been like 4 months or something.
Yeah.
People have been talking about this issue, and I'm running 1809 because I was one of the idiots that decided I'm gonna click update right when they announced it. Okay, so now luckily none of my files got deleted as far as I know. Of course, I'll eventually find it somewhere, but everything's backed up. Luckily, all my libraries are backed up. But you should always run a backup before updating too. By the way, this kind of points to that even more extensively than ever before. But CPU usage does seem to be higher, and battery life seems to be a little lower, actually. The more testing I do with it, it does seem to be a little lower than it was. But I will say that the CPU usage is definitely reporting incorrectly. Now, I did see one site, and I don't remember who this was, but it was there was a couple actually that were reporting if you go into Task Manager and you click sort by CPU usage, that the numbers aren't adding up. And I'm like, they never do.
Yeah.
First off, they never do. There's kernel times and other stuff.
The
that
RAM
plays
doesn't
into
add up
this.
either.
Yeah,
That's
none
not
of
new.
it. That stuff never is correct because there's other things that aren't listed in Task Manager that are using resources.
Which is dumb. They should
But
just list it in Task Manager.
I don't know. There's complications. Kernel times and other stuff like that is complicated to put into it. But anyway, and you can view kernel times in Task Manager.
They should at least just have an other.
Or something, something to kind of
to
display
show
that.
that it knows what's going on.
But then at that point, then it's just the equivalent of the, okay, maybe so.
But
it's
if you
not
can see that other thing is higher than normal, then that gives you at least some
an
indicator
idea
of what's going on.
Yeah, that's true. And so what it comes down to is, and you can kind of view that, actually. If you go to the graph view and you put in kernel times, you can kind of see that, and that's some extra stuff that you can see what's going on there.
Yeah, but I'm saying I would like a generic for each aspect of it, for RAM, for CPU.
Yeah, have
something. Because it's really hard sometimes to tell if Windows is just using RAM or if it's like a RAM leak.
Yeah.
And that's something that's always really hard to figure out because of the way Windows shows RAM.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. It's not as accurate as I'd like it to be. It's not horrible, though. But anyway, point comes down to now it's horrible. So CPU usage is being reported way higher than it is. So we're talking in situations where like you have a couple things open that are each using like 3 to 4%, and your CPU's at 95.
Yeah.
So that's clearly not correct. I'm sorry, unless it is correct and it's using that much, that's a problem. But anyway, I've noticed consistently, like I boot up my PC, it boots up a little slower now, which tells me there is something going on, but also my CPU usage stays at 100% for the first like 5 minutes of running the thing, even though everything seems mostly normal after about a minute. So it's definitely not reporting stuff correctly. There's also been some stability issues, so you want to make sure if you do upgrade to this, upgrade to the latest Intel HD drivers if you're on a 6000 series and up.
Yeah.
Because the graphics driver includes the audio driver, which was having a conflict with the update. So you want to update to that first. Now, since the update, I have had one crash, and I've not had a crash on this machine before that. So I do blame the update for this, or maybe the new driver from Intel, which is kind of part of what you have to do anyway. But it wasn't major. It's only happened once. It was a lockup and then crash, and I had to force kill it, I think is what I had to do. But other than that, it's been mostly stable for me. The biggest thing was the file deletion was the biggest problem here. Incorrect CPU usage, people can get over that. Worse battery life, as long as it's not super substantial, which it doesn't seem to be, people can get over that. But literally having your shit deleted, no.
That's a huge deal.
That's a big problem.
That was it. The other stuff wasn't why they pulled the update in the first place. It was just about the file deletion.
Yeah. So. No, I don't know why the Task Manager issue is still a thing. You'd think that'd be an easy fix. I don't know what the cause is, so we can't say for sure. But you would think it was working before, and now it's not. What changed with Task Manager specifically,
But maybe it wasn't something with Task Manager specifically.
That's possible.
Yeah.
That's possible. So I guess that's enough for that's enough for, I was going to say the big topics, but never mind that.
Yes.
That's enough for the PC topics, the big PC topics. Now we get into some of the fun mobile stuff for all you happy people.
So Google held their Made by Google event today, as they do every October. And, man, did they announce a lot. And by announce a lot, I mean tell us about stuff we already knew about a lot because of leaks.
Yeah, now, I will say, from my understanding, I didn't watch the whole presentation, but they did a pretty good job of not just regurgitating everything the leaks said, but actually focusing on things in a little more detail.
A little bit.
Maybe.
Most of the stuff that was actually new from this event was the software.
Right.
Because
but
the
they
hardware
focused on
got
that a
leaked.
lot.
Yeah. But, but
Less
that's
than
also
the
because the
hardware, but-
hardware's not exciting.
The hardware's never been that exciting for Pixel, other than maybe one.
Yeah. So we got the Pixel 3 and the Pixel 3 XL.
I never would have expected that to be the names.
Yeah. So both of these new phones have wireless charging. What's really interesting, because if you look at the pictures of them and if you look at just how the back looks in general, it looks pretty much the same as the old Pixels.
They're very similar.
Which is odd, because the back of the Pixel 2 and Pixel 1, which was part glass up top and then metal at the bottom,
Yeah.
how they achieved that look so that they still had their, like, you can tell this is a Pixel at first glance look, was actually, so it's an all glass back, but it's clear, transparent glass at the top, and then it's like a weird, like, frosted, sanded
Like opaque.
glass.
Yeah.
So it gives you a similar look to the metal, from, like, pictures at least, and from a distance. But it's all glass, which feels nicer, in my opinion at least, and it allows for wireless charging to not kill your phone.
I do think it feels nicer. Of course, you have the disadvantage of fingerprints. I've always
not
been one.
so much on that frosted part. It's not as
Okay,
noticeable.
that's true. Now, I actually think, depending on how coarse the frosted part is it smoothed over, do you know? Or is it actually frosted feeling?
I haven't. Most people said that it felt different than normal glass, but they didn't specify how.
Okay, because frosted glass, like rubbing that with my hands, gives me the shivers. Like somebody
Yeah.
nails on a chalkboard. So I hope they didn't do that,
I
because I'm
doubt
not
they
the
did,
only
yeah.
one that feels that way
Yeah.
about that kind of texture. But I just kind of wish... I like this, actually. This kind of satisfies me wanting companies to do things a little different, because we've seen so much just, like, hardware-wise, I mean, a little different form factor stuff, is we've seen so much just glass. And I like seeing something that's a little different. It's the same reason that I like the BlackBerry that I have, is because the back's different from everything else out there. Same thing with the ROG phone being really weird and geometric. I like these changes that are happening within the company. So I think it looks really good.
Yeah, I like it a lot from the back, which we'll talk about more in a bit. So the other things that are shared between them, Snapdragon 845 with 4 gigs of RAM.
Yeah, we'll see how that
Depending
goes.
on how the software works out, it could be fine. I didn't really have issues on my Pixel compared to other phones I've used with similar, the exact same hardware.
And I guess here was my concern about that is, right, so I'm running the BlackBerry Key 2 as my daily driver. It is stock Android, other than the DTech app and a few BlackBerry apps you can uninstall, right? And it has 6 gigs of RAM. Not 4, and it fills up sometimes.
Pixel is not stock.
That's true.
That's
Pixel,
the
I know.
important
So
thing that-
Pixel is not stock, but that still means that it's not like they're gonna make it use less RAM by making it not stock.
No, but they can have it optimized for things a little differently.
And if the storage
have
is
it-
fast enough to help keep up, that
Yeah.
can make a difference, right? Because my 6 gigs on my Key 2 does fill up. It does warn me occasionally, and you just close everything, you're good, right? Android's becoming a little bit of a RAM hog, though, I feel like. In its default state, it's starting to become a little bit of a RAM hog. It'll pull like 2-something gigs, just idling, doing nothing. with no
Android
apps
has
open.
pretty much always been one to use as much RAM
As you
unless you
give
go
it.
and clear out apps. It's always going to try and use all of your RAM because there's not a huge downside to not.
True.
And if it increases performance and makes the user experience a little better, so Google's going to want to, use more RAM for things like, maybe they have your app drawer in RAM as a weird thing just to make it load that tiny bit faster,
Yes.
that type of thing. If you can have the whole, a bunch of different aspects of the OS in that RAM, it might take away from the apps loading sometimes, but you can clear it out then. There's a lot of different not rendering. There's a lot of different tricks you can do.
A lot of different rendering tricks.
Yes. A lot of different tricks that you can do to decide what stays in and out of the RAM at different times.
This is true, and I guess...
And so I don't think that the all apps being closed, how much RAM is being used, is very representative of
I think you're
how
probably
it's going
right.
to affect
I think
apps.
you're probably right,
And
yeah.
I want to see someone make an app that is like proper Windows Task Manager but accurate for Android so that you can get a good idea for that when
That
you
would
have
be-
your RAM
yes,
full of
yes.
apps to see how if at that point
Does
Android is taking up the
less
same
RAM,
amount or if
yeah,
it cuts
yeah.
some out.
Okay, yeah, so that'd be something I'd be very interested to see. I guess my metric on this being not much RAM is obviously being based on the fact that we're seeing lots of mid-range phones with 4 gigs, some mid-range phones with 6 gigs, most top-tier phones with 8 gigs, and the insane ones with 10. So it's starting to make me go, 4 seems like almost it could be like a mistake for from Google or something. You know what I mean? Like they overlooked something because especially because RAM doesn't take up much space. I feel like they could squeeze it in there. It's not like the batteries are particularly massive or anything. I don't know. Maybe there's. I'm sure there's a reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm sure there's got to be some form of a reason, right? But I guess to move on to storage instead of RAM.
Yeah, so it's got 64 gigs and 128 gigs on both.
It's $100 difference, right?
Yeah, $100 price standard difference. And then it does include the unlimited full quality photo and video upload until 2022, so 4 years, which I was surprised about. I thought it was going to be 2.
So Photos currently, for non-Pixel users, compresses.
So you have the option of doing full quality,
uses Google Drive
but it uses
storage.
your drive storage.
Right.
Or it compresses it to 12 megapixels, which most...
I thought it was 8.
It's 12.
It's 12.
Yeah.
Okay, you're
so
sure.
it's fine.
Okay, yeah.
But it's 1080p video, I believe.
Okay, 1080p video. So at
the
that
video
point,
is where you're taking
it's still worth it as a backup.
Yeah.
You know, what I do is my nerdy backup solution is I also have everything backed up in full quality to a server here at home. But, okay, that's cool. Now, I wish that Google Photos would implement a tier you can pay for that is not Google Drive, is separate from that you can pay for to have unlimited full quality backup. We're talking whatever it may be, $2 a month or $1 a month that you pay, and then you have unlimited full quality photo backup. That'd be really nice because it's not going to cost them a ton more because a lot of phones aren't even past the 12 megapixel mark by much, and it's something that I would probably personally pay for, especially to get the 4K video upload, because having to pay extra for Google Drive, it's like, what if you just want the photos and you don't want to pay like, oh, I get 100 gigs of Google Drive, then I fill it up, I have to buy more. Just the photos would be nice. Well, yeah, 100 gigs is only $2. Yeah, exactly. But of course, 100 gigs once that's full versus
to get back to the Pixel, so also something to note is that after 2022, any of your existing uploads will stay at that full quality. It's only new uploads. So if you
is what they've done with Google Drive and stuff too, is like if your space runs out, things are still access, there.
So what's nice about what's also nice though is after that time changes, it doesn't take up any of your drive space. It stays in that free sectioned off part of your photos.
Okay, that's nice. So you get 4 years.
If you buy a new Pixel every 4 years, which is longer than the Pixel lineup has been around, you can keep unlimited photo and video at full quality and not have to upgrade all the time.
So my question is this unlimited just on your Pixel, or is this an account-based thing?
It is unlimited uploaded from your Pixel.
Okay, so if I were to do this and use a Galaxy as well, those are still compressed?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you wanted to back up your entire movie library, you could put them on your phone one at a time, upload them to Google Photos. That would be a terrible thing to do because you would ruin this for everyone. So don't. But I'm just saying you could.
/data hoarder, I hope you're listening.
No.
I hope you're listening.
No.
You can buy a Pixel and have unlimited storage, guys. And you could even try and do some tricks to hide stuff.
I feel like it would just be cheaper to buy drive space.
I mean, it probably would be, but for a backup solution, right? And see, the way you do this is then you use something like BitTorrent Sync, now called Resilio Sync, on your phone, and then you have that folder also be scanned by Google Photos. So then you just drop everything into a folder on your desktop and it syncs.
So
hey, don't interrupt me. This is important stuff.
No, it's not. So we're also going to talk about the cameras. That's I think one of the most significant hardware changes this time.
And Pixel's always been that way.
Yeah.
I'm glad they're sticking with that though.
They've always been really great cameras. But between the 1 and the 2, it was like a slight technical spec upgrade.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Whereas this one's actually quite a bit different because while the back still keeps the one camera at the 12.2 megapixel this time instead of I think a flat 12 was what it's been in the past.
Yeah.
But the front has 2 8 megapixel cameras, one 97 degree so wide angle f2.2 aperture, and then one standard which is 75 degree f1.8 aperture lens.
But we need 5 cameras like the LG V40.
No. Google can do probably most of what the V40 can do except for the zoom.
Which is the whole point of the extra cameras.
Huh? But they have 3 cameras.
Yeah. Zoom.
Zoom is not all 3.
Yeah, fisheye, zoom, and standard.
Yeah, fisheye is not zoom.
Fisheye is zooming out. Zooming out and stretching.
Google does have some software stuff for the zoom as well. It's not going to be as good as optical, but it's very interesting. Yeah, essentially what Google's doing is if you do a digital zoom, this will not work on a tripod. This is a feature designed for you holding it in your hand. It uses the slight movement of your hand when you're holding a camera to essentially capture more images at different angles.
That makes sense, actually.
And so it's essentially capturing a digitally zoomed in photo. When you zoom in, it crops more data. It grabs more info.
Yeah, that's totally fine. It's just a matter of processing speed. Yeah. Why wouldn't that work? Yeah, that makes
and they
a lot
have
of sense.
a dedicated image processor on the phone, so it's going to be interesting to see how well that one works. It's also going to be really difficult to test.
Has your Pixel 2 been your favorite Android phone of all time?
Yes.
And I mean, not just because it's obviously now it's better than everything. I mean, period, at the times they came out.
Yes.
Okay. Very interesting. And you're definitely getting this, right? You already pre-ordered it. Okay.
Yes.
I kind of felt like pre-ordering it, to be honest with you.
So while the event was happening, I checked Google's website because sometimes when events are happening, the website will update and it'll have all of the new products beforehand.
This is the best.
Yeah. So I went there and it had the video for the Google event, but it didn't have the products.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me try something. I doubt Google would be this dumb, but let me just check.
Apparently Google's this dumb.
So I clicked on the Pixel 2, went to that product link, it changed the 2 to a 3, and it loaded the Pixel 3's page, and I could pre-order the phone.
So he probably was the first pre-order.
I don't think... Well, no, because I didn't get the pre-order right away.
That's right. Otherwise, you probably would have been...
I had to clean up animal urine because of the job that I have.
Don't call me an animal.
Yeah, my job is cleaning up after...
Oh, man. Oh.
So, yeah, I was able to get this to load. Also, the Google Home Hub was able to load before this, and I pre-ordered that too.
Which is great, yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel like getting one of these, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good phone.
I know. I'm really happy with what I have, though, and I want to wait for battery life statistics.
Yes, because the Pixel 2 XL was solid, and I think this battery's bigger.
Now, the thing is, the question is, spending this much money on a phone, it's going to be my new primary, right? I'm not going to make this, but I really do like the physical keyboard and the outstanding battery life and stuff that the Key 2 has. I don't know if I can realistically move away from it.
Yeah. Wait till I get my Pixel 3 XL.
Yeah.
And then you can get a little bit of a feel for it.
That's because you are getting the XL this time. Yeah.
I almost got the Pixel 3 because of the smaller screen and the no notch, but I figured I've got the small iPhone.
Yeah.
So this way I can get both the small and large phone experiences whenever I want to switch between them.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, because sometimes I do like the larger phone, sometimes I don't.
Just depends what kind of videos you're watching.
RuneScape.
Oh yeah, that's it.
So some of the other really cool camera software tricks, I didn't even put this in the doc, but so for one, Google Lens is actually built in to the phone.
Okay, that's really nice.
Which I was surprised that this had, so it doesn't have like all of the like lens-like features, but something that was really nice about this phone that the no Android phone that I've used has, and maybe some have it, is the built-in camera app has a QR code scanner, but you don't need to like press a mode, it just recognizes there's a QR code.
So that's actually something that's really frustrating to me, is that most default Android apps don't include that. And it's,
why?
I don't understand.
Why?
iPhone does it.
Yeah, and it works perfectly.
And Pixel does it.
Yeah.
And it's I don't understand why that's not a normal thing in every single phone.
Why should I have to download a third-party app that's going to gather data from my phone just to scan a QR code?
Yeah. Like, jeez. I don't understand what the problem with that whole thing is. That's something I've never that's when this makes me actually kind of furious.
Snapchat can do it. Because not QR codes, but because Snapchat's got their adding friends with that image.
Yeah. Why can't I don't
Samsung.
Get it. It's so easy. I think Samsung might include it with the S9. I can't remember.
Oh, because of Bixby, probably.
Yeah. Bixby Vision.
So Google Lens is built in, and what's really cool is that some of the Google Lens stuff is done offline on the phone,
which is nice.
Yes. And then they've also got what they're calling, I think it's like top down. It's a really weird name. Essentially, as is normal for these phones nowadays, the Pixel and the iPhone that are very heavily focused on computational photography, is they take a lot of photos. They don't just take one.
Yeah.
And so what's cool about the
it's nice that we can do that so quickly at this point.
What's cool about the Pixel is that so it'll take a bunch of photos and it'll save them, because what happens is if you click on the like when you open the photo, it'll give you an option if the AI that's running on the phone detects that maybe eyes were closed or you weren't smiling, it'll scan through those photos, give you a button to press, and it'll skip to the photo that it thinks was the best. So if you want to just quickly see, hey, was there a better
Yeah,
photo?
yeah.
You can do that.
That's really unique. I remember seeing a demo for that. And I
on
was
the
really impressed.
iPhone, it does allow you to view the other photos, but there's nothing of like a suggestion to make it quick and easy.
It's just there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen so far, the initial testing shows that it looks like it might work pretty good. So, yeah, those are the most interesting ones. There's some other stuff, but I don't really care about those. So,
Yeah.
we'll just go on.
If Daniel doesn't care, it means most people probably don't. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, actually.
I mean, there's just a lot of camera stuff to talk about.
There's a little bit of news this week.
Yeah. So wireless charging, we mentioned that. So some other cool software things. This is all pertaining to Google Duplex, but there's two different aspects of it. First off, the actual like Google Duplex, like have assistant call places, is coming in November in some cities.
Now it's been a while
since
they last announced that, and it hasn't been rolled out at all anywhere.
No,
yet,
but
right?
we expected this to be take a while thing.
Yeah, and I'm glad it's coming out soon. It's coming out in time for holidays.
Yeah, so it's coming out for the Pixels first. We don't know which cities it's launching in to start, but you can bet your ass if you live in a city that has what's it called, two-party consent for recording calls, you're not getting this feature anytime soon.
No.
Because it's recording your call.
Yeah,
that's how it works.
Yeah.
And so if it had to ask if it could record, which they might build that out.
They could build that
two-party
into it,
consent states.
I think there would need to be something though. They'd want to roll it out to single-party consent first, so that people get more used to it. So that when they roll it out to two-party consent, those people are more understanding of what exactly is happening, right?
Yeah. And then on top of that, it's there might be some weird laws pertaining. Two-party consent doesn't always mean the same exact thing in every state, and so. Who knows if there's some weird law about AI recording it? Like,
I'm not
some
sure.
loophole.
Yeah.
Essentially, legal has to vet every city this ever goes to.
Which is kind of frustrating and a pain for Google.
Yeah.
I don't think Google likes dealing with governments.
Yeah, and so that's why we're seeing this. The other really cool feature, and this is also duplex and therefore also going to have the same city-by-city rollout, but I think was most notable for people, is the call screening feature. So rather than just having it, do calls for you for like setting up an appointment. What this does is if you're getting spam calls, which are a huge issue right now.
I mean, oh man, I get like 6 a day.
Yeah. So ideally, and what you should do is for anything that you know for sure is a spam call or you really suspect is a spam call, ignore it. But if there's ever those calls that are questionable, you can have Google screen the call.
Yes. Now, I wanted to mention, though, just ignoring it when it's obviously a spam call, that can be really hard when you're a business. That's where this affects most.
Yes,
I
think that this is where call screening will come.
Yes, definitely. Because having a situation where you're a business owner, it's like you don't ever want to miss out on a potential customer, so you answer every phone call. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're not on my contacts list, sorry, you're going to voicemail for me. But businesses can't do that.
Yeah. So the way call screening works is when you get a call, it'll give you 3 buttons now instead of 2. Answer, call screen, and end call, or cancel. So if you click the screen, it'll start just duplex talking to them. It'll say that your call is being screened by a service, and that, it'll give them some options. So like it'll say, is this urgent? And then if they respond, yes. And while all of this is happening...
That could give loopholes. Okay.
Because it's AI... It does it based on how they're talking.
Okay.
But on top of that, it's just the next part and the important part for all of how this works is that yes, you can just have it screen and ignore it, and it'll never like automatically answer it for you or anything. Like you can just screen ignore or you can just ignore. Yeah. It gives you a live transcription of what is happening in the call. And so this is really important because if you're a business and you're doing other things, you can hit the call screening, have it sit next to you, go about your thing, quickly glance over occasionally to see, and if you see then that it might be a customer, or you see then that this might be urgent, then you can grab it, answer the call, and take it.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's a cool feature. It's probably... I don't know. I like seeing a big company fight spam more because spam has been a big issue. Calls.
This is actually something that most of the cell phone providers are trying to figure out ways to fight.
Yeah. Like T-Mobile has their automatic spam detection, and they let you know that it's a spam likely as the caller ID.
Yeah. There's also been some work among the carriers I read about. I think that I read about this like a year ago, but it's just really difficult to do. Is that one of the issues with spam calls is faking your caller ID.
Yeah.
So yeah, they've been working on essentially a way to verify phone numbers when calls are coming in.
Now that's
It's very
cool.
difficult to do.
Carriers have been,
yes,
right? Yeah,
carriers.
okay.
They've been working on it with the FCC and all the carriers working together, because one of the big things about spam calls is it's also costing them money. Because it wasn't so much of a problem 5 years ago, but with how many calls they are getting, it's like 60% of calls on some networks now are spam calls.
Yeah, and it puts strain on the infrastructure.
Yeah, because it's 60% of calls, but it's not like their call numbers went down. It's that their existing number of calls became 40% of their total volume of calls.
Yeah, now the other thing I wanted to mention too is most calls are done over voice over LTE at this point. So that's putting a strain on your data.
Unless you're on Sprint.
Oh man, I'm sorry. Anyway, so this puts a strain on the data network, so your data speeds are slower because of spam callers. Now you'll maybe care, because a lot of people are like, I don't do phone calls, I don't care, right? I never answer. Now, the other thing is it fills up voicemail boxes, which is also a problem, using up storage that's unnecessary. And they can not only can they spoof their caller ID, they're spoofing phone numbers. Most of my phone calls I get are area code, and then the first 3 digits of my phone number.
Yeah.
And then something else.
And because they can spoof phone numbers, even if they don't know the actual proper caller ID, you don't need to.
Exactly.
I did a prank call on a coworker, and I called from his number using the prank call app that I was using, because it lets you put in the number it's calling from, and it showed his caller ID, so he was very confused.
Yeah, that's very
caller ID
weird
name
because
so
phone call spoofing is a huge issue, and spoofing numbers I think is one of the most annoying things, is because you can understand why people would be more apt to answer if it looks like their phone number, especially because I've learned it's not that uncommon for people that join as a family plan to have like the first 3 digits of their numbers on a couple of them be the same.
Yeah.
So that right there is like,
Yeah, it's a little less common now for new accounts, but it used to be really common.
Yeah, right. So
I had a 3-line account at one point. All 3 numbers had the same first 6 digits. Because
and mine, I think all 4 of ours are pretty close.
Yeah.
And I kept mine, from when I was on their plan. So I've noticed that all of our numbers are pretty close in terms of those 3 digits. I think one's off by 1 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, that right there is kind of, I see a number that matches something that I maybe know, and it scares me.
Yeah.
Not scares me, but makes me, feel like answering.
Spooky
AF.
So as far as the differences between the 3XL and the 3, the biggest
mostly
difference,
the stuff you'd expect.
Yeah. So the screen sizes, it goes from
what if they're the same screen size?
That'd be odd.
That'd be
it's
hilarious.
6.3 versus I think it's 5.5.
The 5.5 has no notch. Correct. That's probably important to mention.
So a notch with the 3XL, no notch with the 3.
So then can you really call it a 6.3 inch? Is it maybe more like a 6?
Probably.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so pricing wise, the XL, it's $899 for the 64 gig and $1,000 for the 128. For the Pixel 3, it's $799 for the 64 gig and $899
so I wanted to
for the
ask
128.
You, do you feel like those prices are warranted? Because I feel like because of Apple and Samsung releasing such high-end devices that are so expensive, other companies, it's giving them the excuse to charge so much. Because I feel like maybe this could still be, like a $700 or $650 phone.
So I think the 3 is more overpriced than the 3XL.
Because the notch does, the notch does increase
The 3XL is only a $50 price increase from last year. The 3 is like $150.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. So I think other companies are going to be using this as an excuse to charge more for phones.
100% agree.
Yeah. And I feel like the phones that it's warranted for are the X, the XS, and the Note 9.
Yes.
I don't even feel like the S9 is quite warranted at that price tag.
Yeah.
And this I don't think is either.
Yeah. And one thing that's really frustrating for me, just as like with how much I'm surprised that I like the overall look of the X when I'm using it.
And the feel, man. I still can't get over how nice that phone is to hold in the hand.
But no, what I was going to say though, pertaining to the bezels and the notch and whatnot, is Google made a very big deal about how the Pixel 3 is using a flexible OLED. Who cares if you're not going to do the one thing that a flexible OLED can do in bending? Because the reason that the iPhone has no bottom bezel is because they're bending the screen so they can have the screen connector.
Yeah.
Google didn't do that.
And here's my thing about the iPhone that makes me laugh is I I dislike the way the new home button works on the iPhone. I dislike the swipe up and the bar because it takes up just as much space as buttons, but is just less interactive, right?
It's a little bit less, but
yeah, I mean that's just that's my personal
minor,
preference, right? I don't think it's a huge problem. It's just my preference, but I feel like it would make a lot of sense for Android with the buttons to have no bottom bezel because most Android phones are the simplistic no haptic buttons or anything like that at this point. And it's kind of weird seeing them not do that because what's the point of the flexible display then?
Yeah.
What did they use it for?
It's literally just marketing, it seems like.
I mean, maybe the edges around it a little? I don't know.
But those don't need to be flexible. It doesn't need to be a flexible OLED.
That's true. That's true because they can just bend the glass in the OLED.
You don't have to do any special thing to achieve that on the Pixel 3 with like the corners and what they're doing. The only time you need to do something really weird to achieve the like rounded corner look of the screen is on LCDs like what Apple's doing with the XR.
Yeah.
That's taking some actual tricks to do.
Well,
because
don't you need a flexible OLED to do what Samsung does though with the Edge devices? How they have a really significant bent part of the screen where it's definitely not just glass, it's actually the screen. I would think that needs to be...
I believe so, but I believe all OLEDs have some level of flexibility.
I would assume, yeah. Whereas LCDs are 100% solid.
Yeah. Whereas, like, with Apple, they're doing a full curve around. That's much more complicated than...
Yeah, absolutely. That's...
All OLEDs, I think, are bendable. Not all are flexible, I should say.
Okay.
So...
Okay. And so it's just weird that they didn't do that because the chin's kind of big.
Yeah,
it's in today's world.
And like they talk about how it has a bigger and better speaker, and so maybe the speaker's taking up a lot of that chin. But then why is the grill so small?
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I don't know. Well,
it'd be one thing if they made it like if any of you have seen the OnePlus 6T's leaked images.
Yeah,
the speaker for the top is very small along the top bezel. It looks very clean. If Google would have done that for the bottom bezel and then made it small but had a slight bezel for the speaker, I could have seen that because you want a front-facing speaker. That is optimal.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I'm amazed at how good Apple did with a not front-facing speaker on this side.
Kind of blew my mind.
But, like... I just don't know what Google's doing with this.
It's just kind of weird because it's like, why are you advertising it? Like, if you're not going to use it for that feature, why are you advertising it? Now, I understand if they used a flexible display and didn't do this, but you don't need to advertise it as a flexible display. Because if you just bought a display, right, this one is a flexible one, why are you advertising it if you don't use that feature?
And yet they didn't advertise the quality of the screen, which from what we know is way, way better than the Pixel 2.
It's still Pentile, though, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But it's got the...
Are there any OLEDs that aren't right now?
On mobile phones, no, not anymore. We saw when the Pentile stuff first started coming up, we saw a lot of complaints, and then Samsung announced, I think it was their like AMOLED Plus that didn't have Pentile for like a generation of phones. Okay. And then they went to a different Pentile arrangement that is still Pentile but not as bad.
Not as garbage, yeah.
And I know that I saw one of the more technical people I follow on Twitter saying that this is a diamond Pentile display, which is a little bit different of an arrangement. I don't know. I haven't looked at pictures of that specifically.
Yeah, no, I know what diamond Pentile. Interesting. I guess that is a better technology. Yeah. So yeah. Because diamond Pentile, it is a lot different. Okay. It is a substantial improvement over standard Pentile.
But LG is making the display again, which is notable because last year the display was bad.
They crapped all over it.
Realistically, it seems like something in the last year, whatever it was, LG fixed their display manufacturing because people talking about the V40 have said it's better. They just finally
got a spy that went to Samsung that didn't die, that came back with the data they needed.
Maybe. Probably not. I mean, I wouldn't doubt, honestly, if Apple had something to do with it.
Yeah.
Because we know that Apple wanted an alternate OLED supplier.
Yeah,
because they needed more capacity.
Apple likes to have competitors.
Yes, they will happily...
They want to be at the top and have all the competition below them.
They will happily throw money to ensure competition in products they buy because they know that it gives them a better deal.
Yeah. And it ends up making that money back probably tenfold later.
So when we first heard that LG was going to be supplying some OLEDs for the iPhone this year, I'm like, okay, did they fix everything? Because Apple specifically denied them last year because of the quality.
Yeah, because it's inconsistent. It was really quality control. Because like your Pixel looked great for the most part. Yeah,
I didn't have much of the blue shift issue.
Yeah, it was very minor. When you showed me, I was like, that's nothing at all. But it's worse for some people. So I think it was really a quality control issue was the biggest issue.
So yeah, it seems like from what everyone was saying and from the rating that we saw so far, it looks like it's a really, really good display.
Cool. Very cool. Very cool.
Some other things Google announced. This one's kind of weird. So they announced the Pixel charging stand. It is a $79 Qi charger, and I know what you're thinking. That's ridiculous. I agree. What's weird about this, and I don't know if this is completely software and it just has a weird communication functionality or what, but essentially the Pixel's got a special mode when it's on this charger that gives you like essentially more of like a smart alarm clock functionality. Like it's got some glanceable
I think a lot of
information.
people use their phones as their alarm clocks, so that's nice
Yeah,
at this
but
point.
it's also like a glanceable information, better like assistant features for like looking at it visually from like a nightstand, that type of thing. My favorite thing about this is the alarm clock gets a mode for this where essentially it has a sunrise mode that mimics the increasing brightness and color temperature shifts of the sunrise.
And you know,
to help
phone
wake you
screens
up.
are bright enough at this point. If your room's pitch black,
Yeah.
that's enough to do
Yeah.
it. And this is something that's been, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. That's very.
And the
interesting.
idea of like sunrise type lights for alarms has been increasing in popularity as people try and focus on sleep quality and waking up feeling better.
right.
We've seen these products from like Philips sells them pretty commonly.
Right. So this charging stand does have some cool features then in that sense.
I mean, realistically, this is all stuff that could be achieved with software.
Like, does it need to be, so expensive, I guess, is what you
Yeah.
have to-
Now, one of the things that it does do, in a weird way, so you can actually have, I don't know why you would need this really, but you can have different like settings. So when you put it into this mode on this charger, if you change any of the settings, it changes it for that specific charger.
And you can put it on another charger, right?
Yeah,
And
so
it's different
if
settings.
like if you've got two homes and you've got a different alarm settings for when you're in your vacation home versus when you're
Oh, man,
at your
what a
beachfront
life.
property versus when you're at your work home.
When you're in your skyscraper.
Yeah. So if you've got for whatever reason different or
Or
actually
you could just buy two of these. You buy one for weekdays and one for weekends.
no, actually valid use for it. One for your desk at work, not for the alarm but for the glanceable information and stuff.
and one for the
And
alarm
then
at
one
home.
for at
yeah,
home.
yeah.
It's
I
got
still prefer not having to charge my stuff at work, but
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what you're... I mean, if you're the type of person that might be, gone for 16 hours a day and you use your phone a lot for work, having a wireless charging stand to just set it on is pretty
okay,
helpful.
yeah. Well, I agree. I'd still rather have something that lasts me the entire time.
Yeah, but there's no phone that would last.
My phone would. That's about it. My phone would.
Not for me.
Maybe. Well, not for you, but you don't use it for work. You use it for insane. Okay.
No, I'm saying like...
my computer usage is akin to your phone
No, it's not.
usage.
No,
Yes,
it's
it
not.
is. Yes, it is.
No.
No, and I don't mean how much you use it. I mean the insanity of how quick you go through battery.
Oh, but that's because of the building I work at.
That's true. That's true. And I mean that factors in a huge
Yeah.
amount, but huge,
Yeah.
but still.
So the way that this works, though, the way that it detects which stand it's on is not NFC. It's not Bluetooth. It's magic. Not really. I mean, yeah, it's magic, actually. Essentially what it does is, using the charging signals itself, it can send data back and forth, or forth to the phone.
Here's what questions me is this just because quality control on the stands is bad so they can tell the difference between them, or is this like actually something really cool?
It sounds like it's actually
or why the
something...
hell didn't they just put an NFC chip in the frickin' stand?
So they can sell it to you for $79.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
Maybe this is something that they're planning on bringing this tech to other devices, because it seems odd to put in the work on the Pixel itself to make this work.
And also that would actually, devices that by chance don't have NFC, this would work with. So if they were to bring this to other devices, and I don't mean them, but I mean like if the technology was used by other companies, if this was something that Google wasn't keeping too locked down, this is something that could open the path for whatever reason when companies don't put NFC in their phone. You could still have this potentially great feature.
Maybe they were just working on this tech for non-phone purposes.
Or something else entirely. Yeah. That could be. And then they're just like, oh, well, it works for this, so let's use it for this for now.
Yeah, I mean,
and then maybe it does data collection so they can implement this to something more extensive in the future. Windows has an update for you, Daniel.
No.
Click another time and it's going to update.
Probably. It happened last week. So, yeah, we'll see what comes with that. Yeah, it's just an expensive Qi charger, really. The Pixel Slate tablet was odd and interesting.
Is it a Slate or a tablet?
It's a tablet that's not a laptop, but also has a keyboard dock that makes it a laptop. But they made a very big deal about how it's not a laptop and how they hate how some tablets
So it's
are
running
really...
Chrome OS, which they're kind of killing anyway, because they're killing Chrome apps. Or are they just killing Chrome apps and not Chrome OS apps?
So
Google, you confuse
Chrome OS
me.
apps and Chrome apps are kind of different and kind of the same.
Yeah, that's why I'm like not sure what do they mean when they're killing.
Chrome apps realistically are just web pages.
They are.
And they're not killing off the internet yet. Eventually it'll be GoogleNet.
GoogleNet.
Yeah.
How does that work? Is that what Google's gonna do when they come out with their new URL scheme?
Yeah. The new URL scheme, the complete control over AMP, they'll have a new internet. Eventually,
against AMP.
With Google Fiber, they'll just lay down their own entire network, at which point they can sever themselves from the internet.
Might as well. Fight against AMP, though.
They're making really good changes for AMP.
I guess it's just you still get no revenue.
No, they have ads supported now.
They do?
They
finally fixed that? Oh, I didn't know that.
No, they've had it for a while, and they've even talked about how they're going about working on some things. It's again similar to how Chrome blocks ads based on the quality of the ad. It's about ensuring that the experience is kept up. They do still want, and they still need to ensure monetization and good monetization, but that like some things that will never be allowed.
Google monetization.
Some things that will never be allowed are like pop-up ads, for example.
Yeah,
that type of thing will never be allowed.
I get that. I don't know. I just feel like AMP gives Google too much control.
But they're taking away some of their control.
Yeah,
and also AMP has always been something that people could edit. Now, ultimately, Google had to say yes on, but they've never said no on anything that we know of. Yeah. That was like a legitimate change. There's a time and place for that. Pixel Slate tablet.
I think we have plenty of time here.
No. The Pixel Slate tablet. So it's a premium tier Chrome OS tablet. There will be a lot cheaper ones. You should not buy this unless you are for some reason looking for a very premium device.
Very.
That doesn't have a headphone jack.
Also, really, really wide range of. It doesn't have a headphone jack.
Yeah. They can't.
What?
They can't use the space.
That took me for a second. I'm like, wait, what?
People were freaking
out
about
serious?
that on the Google subreddit.
Okay, come on. For something where you're more likely to plug in a nice pair of headphones and sit down with it and listen to music, more so than a phone, you need to include a headphone jack.
Yeah, it doesn't have one.
Anyway, I was trying to say a very interesting range of specs processor-wise.
And the pricing is absurd.
And the pricing is... it's bad.
So it starts out at $599 for a Celeron with 4 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of storage.
So to give you guys an idea here, I have a Chromebook, an Acer Chromebook, that I spent less than $300 on. I think it was $280 on a little bit of a discount. You can get it for like $240, $250 now. Mm-hmm. That is literally higher spec than that.
Yeah, now that part, getting better hardware for the price isn't surprising when you're looking at a premium tier device that's meant to be...
Right, but mine's a full laptop too, of course. So I mean...
But this is literally specifically advertised as not being a full laptop.
I know. But when you say premium tier also, I would argue that, aside from the keyboard, pretty premium, all aluminum, nice machine with a very good screen and stuff like that.
Yeah, but we're talking like we're talking an HDR display. We're talking...
I mean, yeah, there's some additives.
2000 by 3000 screen resolution, which is a pretty solid resolution.
Okay.
I don't think that you should use cameras on tablets, but it's got pretty good 8-megapixel cameras that actually...
Right.
Front and rear.
Okay.
And both of them support the single camera portrait mode functionality that's taken from the Pixels.
Okay, that's cool. Honestly, the next tier is what bothers me most. More so than the Celeron. The next tier.
The last tier is what bothers me.
And the next tier and the last one.
$799 for the Core M3.
The Core M3 is trash. That's why that bothers me. That's a horrible CPU. It's not much better than the frickin' Celeron.
With 8 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage. You're pretty much paying $200 for RAM and storage.
Yeah, and basically a equal performance, slightly bit more efficient is what I would call it, processor. Yeah. Well, you get better boost speed, so I guess when you're opening an app, it would be quicker, but everything else is going to be slower.
Yeah. And then you get into the part where it gets really absurd, in my opinion. $1,000 for the Core i5 with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage.
Now, I don't think that's too horrible.
For $100 less, you can get a Surface Pro with the same specs and a proper i5. I believe this is the
Is
i5,
it like a
dual
Y
core?
series?
Yeah, the Y series one.
Okay.
Whereas with the Surface Pro, you get the proper i5.
You know, something I've noticed that companies are doing more, though? They're saying i5, i3, i7, and not saying the rest of the name.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been a thing for a while, but I
Yeah.
mean, it seems to be more consistent now. Whereas, like, the new Surface stuff, when that announcement came out, they didn't even, on their spec sheet, they don't say what processor's in it. I don't even know if we know yet.
We did find out.
We did find out. Okay.
The new
Finally.
Surface, it is the proper i5.
Good on them. But still, I'm sitting here like, excuse me? Like, it's getting frustrating because i5 is arbitrary.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean... i5, now, Intel, I'm actually not criticizing them for this. I criticize them for what comes after that.
Mm-hmm.
But the whatever is actually a really good indication from them of, in this product stack, where does it land, right? But when companies are touting that, oh, it has an i5...
It could be a dual core, it could be a 6-core.
Well, and soon an 8-core, or no, that's the i7.
No,
So it could be
6-core,
up to a dual core to a 6-core, and any amount of hyper-threading somewhere in that stack.
You could get a 2-core 4-thread, you could get a 4-core 8-thread, you could get 6 cores or 6 threads. 6 cores,
yeah,
no
6
threads.
cores, no threads, no, and then you could also get a 4-core 4-thread. Mm-hmm. So there's like all these options in there, and not to mention that some would have like 1.5 gigahertz base, and others would have like 3.8.
Yeah.
Depending on the product stack. So I wish they would define that more. But this next one,
Now,
that one doesn't bother me too much. It's overpriced, but I don't think it's insane. This next one is like, what?
So if you really like throwing money at Google and you are a baller...
You're just donating to them at this point.
yeah. For $1,600, you can get... I didn't even put this in there. The i7... I forgot that.
I assumed that, yeah.
The i7 with 16 gigs of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage.
So, first off, why only 256? Jeez.
Yeah.
Second, what? What? And I'm assuming it's only a dual-core i7, huh? Probably.
I didn't check. But
Okay.
Yeah.
We can probably assume, but we could be wrong there.
Yeah, I mean, it's really absurd because for $1,800, I think it's $1,800 for the Surface Pro 6, you get an i7, which we know would be the proper
And I would
one,
argue the Surface is a nicer machine.
and 512 gigabytes of storage.
Not to mention, you're not getting Chrome OS. You're getting a full OS that's costs... well, I think the Surface Pro comes with 10 Pro.
Yeah.
I think. So you're looking at a $150 OS with that as well. Now, you can argue whether that's worth the price.
Yeah.
Still, it's much more functional than Chrome OS, unless you flash Linux to this or something.
Yeah. I will say, on the topic of Chrome OS itself, it does look a lot better than what I've seen from it on other tablets before.
Okay.
They've been doing a lot of work to improve the tablet-specific experience. It's now an actual like tablet
I feel like
UI.
Chrome OS has kind of gone in a direction I wish it didn't, though. I don't know. There's changes. I don't know. Chrome OS is supposed to be this great OS for online lives, right? And
it still is. It's just the home screen is for tablets now. That's all that really is different.
I guess, although, like, I got a recent update to my Acer Chromebook, and one thing that frustrates me is it always used to be you hold the power button for 2 or 3 seconds, and it locks your computer, and then you close it, and you're good to go. Whereas if you just close it, it doesn't lock. And I can't find a setting for this. Maybe I'm missing something. But now you have to hold it for a couple seconds, and a menu pops up, and you get the option of power, sign out, or lock. But if you sign out, it just shuts down. So you have 2 shutdown options, basically. Yeah, the sign out button just shuts it down. So I don't know exactly what's going on there. Now, maybe that last part's a glitch, but it's still an extra step I have to do to put my laptop away, and I don't like that. Now, see, I'd be more okay with this pricing if it came with some of these fun accessories.
Let me talk about this. So if you want to buy this premium tier tablet that's not a laptop, but then you decide, you know what, laptops are better and you want a keyboard.
Laptops are better.
For $200, you can get the Slate keyboard. Now, what's interesting about this is as far as the adjustability, you essentially get the full range of a laptop. They were saying it's essentially fully actually adjustable.
Okay.
And that the kickstand on the back to keep it up, I think it is, can essentially adjust.
So it's a kickstand, though, still. So it still can't be in your lap. Like a laptop could.
I
Very
think
well.
so,
Because,
yeah.
the Surface was really hard to do.
Yeah, I didn't look much at the Slate keyboard because, for one, this is not coming out right away. This is a later this year type product.
Okay.
It also was really weird. Slate keyboard, it's backlit. It's seems like a fairly decent chiclet keyboard at best.
So now we get to... So I don't think that price maybe is too bad for it. I think it should be like $150 for that Slate keyboard. But this next one,
I mean,
don't
this
know.
is industry standard. The Slate Pen.
But is it as good as industry standard, right?
I think that the bigger issue is that the Chrome OS does not
Software.
have the apps that would support this yet.
Because using a pen on Microsoft Surface is great.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
And
I
on
love
the
using
iPad
it.
Pro, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. In fact, I'd actually argue that the Surface did it better first.
Yeah, but then
But
Google,
they're both like
Yeah.
super good. Yeah.
or not Google.
Apple.
Yeah. So
Same
yeah,
company.
it's $99 for the Slate Pen. It looks like it's just your fairly standard, like for the high end stylus. So
Now, how does it charge? Does it stick in the bottom of it?
I didn't even look.
Okay.
I really did not care.
I hope it doesn't.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I will pay more attention to this stuff when it's ready for release.
Yeah.
And we can start getting reviews.
Now the screen looks nice though, I will say.
Yeah. Looks like it's going to have a really quality display.
And that is, there's something to be said for that. I find the resolution hilarious because it's exactly 2000 by 3000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
It almost makes me wonder if they had some weird arbitrary numbers.
We've seen this before. I think Microsoft had a display with it like that as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I like it actually. I do
I-
like it, and it makes aspect ratio determination very easy.
Yeah. So speakers are one thing I forgot to put in the doc, but that are also apparently very
I would hope
Very
for
good,
these
like-
prices.
they talked a lot about it. They didn't really talk the technicals, just essentially that it's supposed to sound really good.
Okay.
We'll see. The other thing is that with Chrome OS, at best you're getting Tidal. Does Tidal have a web app that supports hi-fi? Because otherwise, at best you're getting
don't even
Spotify
know.
and YouTube.
I don't even know if Tidal has a web app at all.
Yeah,
I don't know. Actually, I'm gonna find out really quick.
because that would be the interesting thing for me. Is yes, there are ways you could play higher end audio.
Yeah.
But if these speakers are really good, and there's
Then
no
it's
good
like-
way to play back high end audio,
Yeah.
then it's a marketing thing more than anything else. I don't expect them to be good enough that you need high end audio to really get advantage of it.
Yeah. Right.
It's probably tuned for streaming,
Yeah, I guess.
so
I don't know. Let's see here. I'm just gonna pull up images of Tidal web app. Let's see if we. I don't know. I can't tell. Hold on. Let me sign in really quick.
oh, it supports Android apps. I forgot. You can use that.
Okay, so you could use Tidal on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Still though, I don't know.
Yeah.
Because you're not. I don't know. I kind of want. I'm still one of those sticklers. Is I just can't stand how crap quality streaming video is. I just can't stand these low bitrate piles of garbage. It bothers me, even so, on YouTube and stuff, it just bothers me because, having even 4K remastered that was originally filmed in 1080p footage, like Serenity, I love that movie, right? Great movie. I stream that from my server at like 30 megabits per second to my TVs and stuff, right? And that looks way, 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 way better than YouTube. Now, I don't expect YouTube to stream at 30 megabits per second, but that was remastered to 4K, right? And so I feel like I understand them wanting to be more compatible to other devices, but I feel like there's got to be something we can do.
What I would like to see, similar to how Tidal has a base tier and a hi-fi tier, have YouTube, and this would make premium a more compelling option for some people.
Have it, higher bitrate.
Have a high bitrate YouTube premium option. It would incentivize people to go to your higher bitrate. It would incentivize them to go to the ad-free platform, which they would enjoy better and spend more time on your platform for.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's a really good thought. If we could have like 4K video being streamed at like 25 megabits per second.
And getting
Or
more
30.
people on that premium would then justify paying for that storage space.
That would be really nice. Or even if you could, I don't know, because now this would be really hard for YouTube to do because of the amount of extra storage it would take up. But, like 4K Blu-rays, a lot of them are like 60 to 70 megabits per second. So it still wouldn't quite compete with that. But I just hate that 1080p Blu-ray looks better than 4K YouTube.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, I want higher quality stuff.
The other thing, and I think this might be a little financially more it essentially be better for YouTube because of how much premium includes with the fact that it includes YouTube Music and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're splitting that cost so much, is maybe include higher bitrate options for the subscribing to individual YouTubers side
Oh,
of things.
hey, that's a good idea.
That way you're getting a little bit more money to pay for that storage space.
Yeah.
You're limiting it to people that have established accounts. That way you're not getting random uploads of really, really, really high.
And then you could maybe deliver it at like 30 or something.
Yes.
Something really high
Yeah.
where it's like, okay, now we're looking at beyond 1080p Blu-ray for 4K YouTube. Still not 4K Blu-ray, but I don't expect them to be streaming at 70 anytime soon, you know.
And then if they do that, it gives people who really care about it more incentive to subscribe to more YouTubers with the paid subscription tier.
Yeah.
And that means that more money for your content creators who want to do that.
Yeah.
More money for you. It's an all-around win.
I bet you MKBHD would jump right on something like that.
Hell yeah.
Extra crispy, man.
I bet you that MKBHD and the rest of the like Team Crispy people would probably pay YouTube for the ability to upload in higher bitrate.
I know. Because it's just sad. And even like, I think Vimeo has higher bitrate support. And their stuff looks good.
But that's because it costs money.
Oh, yeah, because it costs money. But, you know...
and also Vimeo is specifically for like...
It is, yes.
Producers,
yes. And this ties back to something, and, you know, this is getting to be a long podcast, so I'll make this part quick. But this ties back to something is... 4K TVs are becoming more and more popular and more usable, but people aren't getting the benefit out of their 4K TV anymore. And that's why I purchase a lot of my media. I actually purchase the Blu-ray in 4K. And then, you know, and if it's a TV show, I understand if you want to watch it right when it comes out. And a movie, you see it maybe in theaters where they're going to have really high bitrate content. But in general, seeing something at its original bitrate is just a completely different experience. And then you realize... I feel like people aren't getting their money's worth. It's like buying a $1,200 pair of headphones for Spotify.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you should spend $20,000 for headphones for Spotify.
Exactly. No, I wish Spotify...
Then it would finally sound good.
Yeah. I really wish Spotify had implemented their hi-fi stuff. That would have been really cool, but they never went through with it. So, and which is funny because, I don't know, it just doesn't take up that much more space. I don't know.
I just don't think that enough of their customers care that they care.
Yeah, but I mean, if for a slightly premium cost, I don't know though. I guess at this point though, I guess they missed their chance because at this point now with Tidal having more tracks, people are just going to migrate that way anyway. And Tidal having MQA support, the audio files are going to go that way no matter what because they want that bigger selection. Yeah. They want their niche artists and stuff. So at this point, it's not a good monetary.
All right, let's try and get through the rest of this. So we've got the Home Hub. This one was interesting for me, and I did pre-order this.
Not a bad price, actually, for what it is.
Yeah, so we have... It's $150. It's essentially a in-home, like, smart home display hub thing. So similar to the Amazon Echo Show, kind of.
Yeah.
It's
better.
very different in that it is much more smart home focused.
Yeah.
There's from anywhere you're at on the Home Hub. Now, generally, this is something you'd be more so interacting with your voice, but you can touchscreen interaction with it.
Yeah.
But at any time, you can swipe down, and it gives you access to the new looking Google Home menu for your actual home controls. And so you can quickly and easily, swipe down, hit your lights, turn them off. Swipe down, view your security camera. Swipe down, change the temperature.
It's really cool.
On top of being able to do all of that with voice.
It's really cool. Yeah. I think it's a cool idea, and I love the ambient screen tech. That is really nice.
Yeah. So I'll get to that in a second. So I mentioned it's similar to the Echo Show. It does not have a camera. There is no video chat functionality. Google wanted this to be something that people were more comfortable with both owning and putting in any room that they might want it in. I'm probably going to have this in my bedroom because that's where I spend most of my time at home.
Why wouldn't you want a camera watching you?
I don't know. I mean, you could buy the Facebook portal, which we'll talk about
later.
But
okay, so, I actually don't think that there is... I don't think that Amazon should be pushing for video chat for their smart home stuff. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I don't think that's a feature that people... Not only do I think people probably don't want it and don't need it, I think they should be actively pulling people away from that for smart home devices specifically. You know what I mean? I don't know. I have a weird feeling about it.
I agree and disagree.
I like the idea of voice chat.
So for people that are more so our age, I agree. But when you look at the people that are in their 40s owning a home, or like established owning a home, or in their like early late 30s that are working on getting their home paid off, set up, all that stuff. Back then, for them, like when they were kids, the idea of like the future home was always video chat on a like stationary device. True. And so this helps build that when you're trying to help build up a smart home, it kind of helps build that idea of for the people currently owning homes, not trying to get into home buying. that idea of that old style smart home.
Okay.
I feel like
I'll
that's
give you
one
that.
of the
Yeah.
things that, like, I really think that the Facebook portal looks pretty dumb, and I think that especially the 15-inch looks dumb. It
It doesn't just look dumb; it looks absolutely
it
horrendous.
also comes across to me as something that you would have seen in a movie from the 80s about a smart home in the future.
Yeah.
It's a very like large, weird-looking display with a big, obvious camera.
You know, and Amazon or not Amazon, Facebook, yeah, they'd be one to ploy into people's brains as much as possible and use that to their advantage. So
yeah, this doesn't
hashtag delete Facebook, hashtag delete Instagram.
This doesn't have a camera at all, so I really appreciate that. The screen's only 7 inches, but I actually think that for this and for
the 7 inches, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be nice if they come out with like a 13 or 15 inch later, but 7
especially
inches is fine.
since video playback is a very useful, important aspect of this.
Yes.
So essentially, this is like a more generalized smart home hub device. I mean, the picture frame tech is really cool, as he mentioned, with the ambient EQ. So essentially, this is similar to the True Tone display technology that the iPhones have, in which the color temperature can shift based on the color temperature of the room.
Yeah.
But this seems more significant than that. They showed a setting where they essentially had a picture and the home hub with that same picture on it. And they changed the color temperature significantly in the room, and it took a little bit to change on the home hub.
Yeah.
But it looked very much that same color temperature that the photo did.
And that's really impressive from a screen. And this isn't like e-ink or anything.
No.
Don't get us wrong on that either. This is really impressive tech.
Yeah. It's essentially True Tone on steroids, and I really appreciate that.
I think that's a way to put it. It responds slower than True Tone though, right?
Yes.
True Tone's like, right?
Pretty close, yeah.
Pretty close. Okay.
I really hope we see... I was sad we didn't see the Pixel get this year.
Yeah.
I really hope we see this come to Android phones, because that's one of the things that I think that is really nice about the iPhone.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where you might not notice it at first, but that's kind of the beauty of how it works, is that you don't notice the color being different from the room because it's not different from the room.
And I think on phones it makes a lot more sense to. There was a lot of people that complained about it being on the Mac because that needs to be something that doesn't have to be user adjusted, but just with video editing apps, period. And we talked about that when it came out. It needs to be disabled. Premiere Pro, all that stuff needs to be pre-programmed.
Yes.
So that you just launch Premiere Pro, right, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But on phones, you're not doing professional work. There's no reason not to have it on.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I really like this. I'm interested to get and test this. It ships on the 22nd, so I'll be getting my Pixel on like I think it ships the 19th, and then this ships a few days later. So, and then the Chromecast. Now, this got sold last week to some people, so we already knew a little bit about this.
we talked about this sitting at Starbucks. It was pretty hilarious.
Yeah. So we've got it's a refresh of the lower end Chromecast, not the high end 4K one.
Yeah, which the Chromecast Ultra, I actually have been kind of considering picking one up. They're very
I would
nice.
wait because they're probably going to refresh it.
Probably, and also in some cases, a lot of stuff. See, the thing is, actually, I'm a little frustrated. Speaking of Chromecast, this is something I want to mention about Chromecast is Chrome can stream to Chromecast, stream any video you're playing, right? And like Twitch and stuff supports that too, but it cannot do it to like Roku streaming and stuff like that. The more open streaming services, right? And so like when I get my 4K Roku hooked up to my 4K TV, I'm still going to need a Chromecast Ultra if I want to stream from my PC.
Yeah.
And that kind of bugs me.
Yeah.
I'd kind of like to be able to
Tell
stream
another
from the PC.
streaming.
But then again, I don't even know if it'll stream at 4K or not though. If I use the Chromecast Ultra through the PC.
I believe it does, but you'd have to look into that.
Because, yeah, I want to make sure, because that's my primary use for it, is because I don't want to run it off my phone for 8 hours a day.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is the lower-end Chromecast. It's pretty much the same. We've got a little bit of a visual change, some improved Wi-Fi.
It's not glossy anymore, right? It's matte now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The two real changes are it added Bluetooth and it added multi-room audio support.
Okay.
So if you've got good speakers hooked up to your TV, you now no longer need a Chromecast audio hooked up to those speakers in order to have that multi-room audio.
Yeah.
Which I really appreciate because...
Saves some money and it's simpler.
Saves some... Yeah, I mean, most speakers don't support two input methods at this... I've never seen ones that support two input methods at the same time because they would have to then add hardware to mix it, which I wish somebody would do.
Like your headphones?
Like my well, my headphones have it better than anyone because they do have some level of it.
Yeah.
But like, I would like to see some speakers or some controller for speakers have that functionality, because there have been times where I found that it would have been useful.
like noise normalization where it just figures it out and equals them, or are you saying like a manual mixer?
I mean, literally, if I had a dial similar to how Astro headphones have that dial that just switches the balance between them.
That'd be really cool, yeah.
Because like, for example, I've had times where I wanted to listen to audio on my PC that is not Spotify, and therefore I can't play it back on my PS4, and
yeah,
I can't do that without using the monitor speakers.
I think Windows needs to implement a better way of having multiple output devices, like assigning an app or a program to an audio output device too. Because if it doesn't have it built into the app, then you're kind of screwed. Whereas it'd be nice to be able to have music playing on certain sets of stuff.
Also, one thing that I would like to see Microsoft really implement, especially now that they're getting into streaming with Mixer and stuff, is the ability to have apps run as their own audio device for the sake of recording. That way, when you're streaming a game, if you wanted to have music not play back in the stream, you could do that easily.
Yeah.
But you could still listen to music.
Yeah. That'd be a really good... Yeah, that'd be nice, because we were talking about that on our stream on Friday last week. So, yeah. Okay, is that it for the big topics?
Yeah, that about wraps up the Google events. Now, that doesn't wrap up the Google news.
Yeah, so some other news, and this is news, not a rapid fire section quite yet. Sorry for the insanely long podcast, guys, but we're going to get through this. So
Google Plus had a pretty significant data compromisation.
Compromisation is a great word. You've used that one on this podcast enough times. It's just a word now.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it in the dictionary.
I hate you. So Google Plus, okay, they had a pretty bad vulnerability. It was back in March of this year. It wasn't anywhere near as bad as the Facebook vulnerabilities.
So it was found in March of this year.
Good point.
Then patched.
And then patched. How long it was. And they patched it immediately.
When
they fixed it. Yeah, when they found it. So now what we do know is there was only a little bit of data that could be pulled from this, like some of your profile data. It wasn't everything, because Google keeps stuff very segmented, which is something I've been talking about for a long time. Yeah,
especially when it came to Google Plus. Google Plus is like considered your just top tier general account information mostly.
Yes.
And then everything else is a completely subset of it.
Yeah, and so even your photos and stuff on Google Plus, none of that. Whereas the Facebook hacks, everything was gone.
Yeah.
In this situation, it's some important info, but it's not everything, and so it's not something to worry as much about. And also, as far as we know, no passwords or anything like that got leaked.
Now there is some concerning stuff with this though.
Yeah.
I mean, so looking at the actual number, so 438 apps may have used the vulnerability, and it affected as many as about 500,000 people.
I love that. 500,000. Facebook's small compromise was 50 mil.
Yeah. I mean, 500,000 is probably the people that would have been active during this time to use the 438 apps. So.
Okay, true. Because I do want to make a comment on this here. Are you about to mention the 90% thing?
Yeah, so Google said in their official blog post that 90% of the site visits were under 5 seconds.
Okay, so I wanted to mention something, is a lot of people visited Google Plus for 5 seconds when they were forced to set it up for YouTube.
No, they're talking about active users.
Oh.
90% of monthly clicks.
Well, if you factor out the bots, I bet you it's 30% of monthly clicks,
which is still 30.
Which is still
30%
bad.
of your use is accidental clicks.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, because I think that Google Plus had a lot of potential as a social network, and I've pushed for it, but it never went anywhere because
I think
Facebook's
they would have done a lot
monopoly.
better if they didn't force YouTube.
Yeah, actually, there aside from that, because that just pissed people off. Mm-hmm. Aside from that, there's a lot of people that missed the way Google Plus was more originally. And also, I wish I had better Hangouts integration. When they literally just removed Hangouts integration, it's you removed that social aspect from social, but they're oh, well, because Hangouts is going business. Well, guess what, guys? So is Google Plus.
Yeah, so they're shutting down the consumer side of...
In 10 months. And I wonder, what does this mean? Because when they said that about Hangouts... We still use Hangouts for our primary method of communication. So maybe they're literally going to do nothing with Google+.
They said that they were moving away from Hangouts, and that they will eventually shut it down, but they didn't give us a specific time frame.
Okay.
And I think that with this, I mean, we got a time frame, so they're gonna shut it down within 10 months. I feel like.
Yeah, I just wonder what does a business-focused Google Plus mean? Because they said they're shifting it to business focus in 10 months.
They already do have some Google Plus like enterprise use.
Okay.
I think it's like essentially like a internally hosted
Slack competitor, but also social media.
No, because the Slack competitor is the new Hangouts.
Oh yeah, you're right.
More so like an internal like social media board for companies, because I mean there
Yeah.
are some companies that have internal social media.
Well, there is, and in fact, fun little thing is, and I'll talk a little more about it in a second. But MeWe Pro actually basically has Slack and what would be an enterprise social network in one app.
Yeah.
So,
Essentially Google's just keeping that aspect, probably because they have some customers paying a lot of money to use it.
That could be.
And that weren't affected by these compromises.
Yeah.
Now, one thing you might be wondering is, why is it October that we're just now finding out about this compromise?
That's the big
that
problem
happened
here.
in March. Well, it turns out Google intentionally hid this so that they didn't get regulated.
And didn't get public backlash. And the
It
problem
sounds like this is a reason that they should get regulated.
Yeah, that's what pisses me off most about this. The vulnerability. Okay, we're looking at it. Okay, they fixed it immediately. It wasn't really that bad if you factor in how bad it's been with Facebook and MySpace and Twitter and stuff like that. But it's the not telling people, I hate you. Google, this makes me mad because I had hoped you guys were one of the companies out there that had the better integrity to do this. Because it seems like I feel like they've been good about this in the past. What changed?
It seems like a really bad way to avoid regulation. Because,
It does.
like, if you're a company and something bad happens and you don't want to get regulated, you would think that the thing would be upfront, talk about how you're going to make changes, self-regulate a little bit.
Yes.
At least make it look like you're doing that.
And especially the fact that you fixed it immediately.
Yeah. Instead of this wasn't like a security company came to them and found it. Google started doing an audit of a bunch of stuff with a project called Strobe.
They did, yeah,
and they found this on their own by auditing their APIs
and then
immediately fixed it.
So, like, shouldn't you be advertising, hey, look, we're not Facebook?
Yeah. Hey, this was not something that was found by a random person. We have these apps that may have used it, but we don't have all of what might have been gathered, and it wasn't that bad.
Yeah. And that's where it's like, you could have literally used Google was put in the one position that companies never get put in, where revealing a security compromise benefits you.
And then also,
they didn't take it.
What's really BS about this, Google gives the companies that they find security vulnerabilities for 90 days.
Yeah.
Google took way more than 90 days.
Way more than 90 days.
They didn't announce it until they were ready to announce they were shutting it down. And they didn't announce it until a lawsuit got shut down over other sketchy stuff they were doing.
Yes. And see, now they're just advertising all over the place how 90% of their users are not real users.
Yeah. Why would you like have such a bad publicity event right before your phones go up for sale?
That's pretty bad too. Yeah, you guys are all sorts of messed up right now, apparently.
Go advertise your wannabe social network.
So I wanted to mention something that people can shift to from Google+. Now, Google+ has been less a homepage social media like Facebook, less personal, and more community-focused for a while now. Not so much that it has more community features, but more so that just nobody was using the publish on my profile settings of it.
A lot of that came down to the people that used that side of it.
Enjoyed that side.
But when Google made the initial change to the communities and they didn't have an easy way to access circles initially, then everyone was like, okay, I'm done.
Except for the community
and then
users.
when they brought it back, it was too late.
So at this point, what Google Plus has essentially been for a while is a good UI Reddit. So in terms of community board, right? Or a good UI forum system,
with
whatever you want to call it. With there was a porn bot problem for a while, but they fixed that. I couldn't
look at the PlayStation board because it was just porn.
I had to unsub from the Android community because it was the same thing. You go to it and I'm like, scroll. Oh, there's a legit post.
Yeah. For a while, the Snapchat beta Because all of which this is one interesting thing. How are the Android Plus beta feedback or the Android App Store beta feedback things going to work? Because that's all done through Google Plus.
That is.
But for a while, the Snapchat beta one was real fun.
Yeah. So, all right, so let's go. So there is another option out there, guys, and they've been around for 6 years, so I'm not recommending something here that seems like they're going to immediately shut down. Clearly, they have a business plan that's working because they've been growing in size, they've been making more money, and they haven't been having financial troubles, as far as we know, we hope.
Yeah.
Well, realistically, because of the way they manage this network, the management needs of them, the employee needs, the server needs are way lower per user than Facebook. Don't tell me to go.
I will.
So this social network is called MeWe, M-E-W-E, right? And they are a completely privacy-focused, open, free, and no ads social network.
If you want to know how privacy focused they are, they do a very bad job of advertising their actual social network features because they spend so much of their site on privacy.
Their entire site talks about privacy and not about what this social media
The only real stuff they have about their social media are 4 screenshots that are not screenshots. They're just like little captures of little circles of part of their website.
It's bad. So anyway, MeWe, actually really cool after using it. My communities from Google Plus, I am not the owner, but the pretty high up in several different communities on Google Plus. We're pulling all our users over to MeWe right now because MeWe is essentially Facebook and Google Plus mashed together without the BS of giant companies and a better UI. How great does that sound? Now, you may be wondering, okay, if they don't do ads, how do they make money? Let me guess, they collect your data and sell it. No, they don't collect your data or sell it. So there is some catches here to the way that they make money, but it's not really that bad of a thing. So the way it works is, first off, they have MeWe Pro, which is basically a Slack and like social media board for company competitor. And that right there makes a lot of money. They also have emoji packs. So they have tons of emojis that are free, but you can buy emoji packs for $1 a piece. They have like 5 different emoji packs. You can also, their secret chat, which is basically Snapchat integration. I mean, not literally, it's a copy of Snapchat basically. Their secret chat, you have to pay, I think it's $1 a month for, or you can pay like $6 a year. So really not bad pricing wise on that. And it has the disappearing messages and everything like that. You pay for that, but also the final caveat is everything you upload that's not text, so photos, videos, other stuff like that, not links obviously, goes towards an 8 gigabyte data cap, and then you have to pay $5 a month to get the 50 gigabyte data cap. Now I read somewhere that resets every month, but they don't say that on their site, so either that's not true, or if that is true, then you're not going to blow through 8 gigabytes in a month of just photo uploads. Now it compresses everything, so realistically that's not a horrible amount of space, and the imager integration is flawless on it, so if you do run out of space and you don't want to pay, although paying for the service you use since there's no ads and stuff seems fair to me, but if you don't want to pay, just throw the image on Imager, post a link, and people can tap that and it opens up within MeWe.
You know what MeWe should do?
What?
Cut out this clip and upload it as an ad.
They should. Yeah, be a little bit better. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I should tag them in it. I don't know. Not as an ad, but like, so, come on, I hate you. It's not just a straight ad. I'm just explaining what it is. So
I know, but it's been 5 minutes. So
I know, I'm almost done here. But so it does have a group feature that's just like Google Plus Communities, except you can choose what people can see on your profile in each community, which is really cool. It does have a home page, which is basically Facebook, and that's really nice too. But also for like liking messages, it's not just as simple as like. You emoji. They use emoji as a verb. You emoji a comment or a post, so you could post any of a million faces. Now they have quick access to like, dislike, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I actually really think it's a very, very well thought out network, and it seems to be making enough money to survive. And despite the huge influx of users, because all of Google Plus is moving over there, they've remained fast and stable. So I'm pretty impressed on that front. I overall, check out MeWe. I'd recommend signing up. They've grown by 10% in the last month too, not including October, but in September, before all this crap with Facebook and Google Plus. So they seem to be doing pretty well.
So yeah, Facebook. Speaking of MeWe, Facebook announced the portal.
Is it a portal to take you over to MeWe because they're a better company?
So yeah, this is the like smart home hub device that Facebook has been working on. Not even really a smart home hub. It's mostly focused on video chat. It's got some music and video playback and stuff, but it's not a focus of the device.
Yeah, it's like a dumb home device.
Yeah, it's the most unique features are all in unique are all in the camera and the
looks of it, very unique looks.
uniquely bad. The smaller portal looks like an old TV.
It really
and
does.
the larger portal looks stupid.
We'll have B-roll here. I'm sure you guys are seeing it right now. It's disgusting. Now,
so,
I will say, the only thing I will say, the larger portal, if the screen is in landscape mode, looks not horrible, still bad.
Yeah. So essentially, Facebook is putting the camera in your home, which sounds safe.
Yeah, especially with how great their security has gotten ever since the hack a while back.
Yeah. So one of their most significantly advertised features is the video chat, and they're talking a lot about how one of the things that they're doing is they're using the camera, obviously 12 megapixels, or I think it's a 12 megapixel camera. You don't really need that for video chat.
No.
So what they're doing is they're using AI to essentially try and do better positional tracking of you.
Okay.
And they're tracking you as you move, and it'll do a bit of a zoom. It'll take advantage of that higher resolution to zoom in and follow you around so that you get a little bit more of an intimate video chat experience, even if you have to get up and move around.
Glitches out because like you have a pet bird and it flies in front of it and the camera just
that would be amazing.
It's just up at the ceiling.
Yeah. The device doesn't physically move, so it's just zooming within the range of the camera.
Right.
But it is also supposed to be a pretty wide angle camera so that it has a lot of room to move around.
Interesting.
Other than that, if you are concerned about the Facebook putting a camera in your home, but for some reason you're also interested in this device, a couple things to note is that for one, both models come with a cover to cover up the camera for quick access, but then also the mute button, which not just like software mutes it, it actually, when you have it muted, it physically cuts the circuit between the hardware for the camera and the mic and the main device, so that even if somebody hacks the device or Facebook decides, screw it, let's take all your data, if that is muted, it completely shuts it off.
Yep. And that's the way I think all webcams and stuff should be like that. And it doesn't, I mean, obviously you can't in a phone and stuff like that, but I mean, in general, devices that have cameras on them, if possible, should have at least an integrated cover, but also a physical on-off switch.
So I fully expect at some point for Google to announce a home hub with a camera.
Yeah,
probably. I think that they were just being smart in releasing it first without. I hope they copy this.
Yeah, I agree. So, now, what's this about? No Instagram?
So essentially, there's no feed to view Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, or anything on your phone. People thought that being a Facebook device, there would be some Facebook. You mean on these,
not on your phone?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, sorry, I was confused.
Yeah. People thought that there would be, some level of like looking at Facebook on
here. Why
here.
Isn't there? I think that'd be nice. I think
Probably
that would be convenient to have like
pushy.
an auto slow scroll that you could set up so like you're making food in the kitchen and you just have your Facebook feed going. They
probably didn't want to seem too pushy. I'm sure they'll add it later.
Yeah, probably.
My guess is that they wanted this to be focused on direct conversations, not general social media.
Yeah, okay.
It has chat. It has Facebook chat support, and it has video chat, and that is it as far as chatting.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. Now we get into the rapid fire stuff.
Yeah. So we're gearing towards the end, guys. This is cool.
Yeah. So Metro by T-Mobile, which is the new name for Metro PCS. T-Mobile Metro confirmed that it is getting 5G next year. So we already knew that T-Mobile was working on their 5G rollout for early next year. Was when phones were supposed to ship. T-Mobile has only confirmed 4 cities, and that is New York, Dallas, LA, and Vegas, for their 5G rollout, but they said that they're working on it in 30 cities. It's going to be a lot more of like the high density cities mostly where it'll make the most difference for the customers.
Yeah.
We've seen like Verizon talk about, rolling it out in like somewhat rural areas.
And I hate that word. Rural.
It doesn't make sense. You don't get the benefit, and it's not difficult. It's literally just to say first. It's literally so you can run into the YouTube comments and say first.
I do that all the time.
Yeah. And so when T-Mobile was talking about this, they're like, why did we choose New York instead of, I forgot the name, but whatever city Verizon did? And they're like, because this would actually make a difference for our customers.
Yeah.
And so Metro is just going to piggyback off of that. My guess is it's going to be late next year.
Right.
Because while the network side of things will already be done, it means that if we're expecting early next year phones to get 5G, then that means that late next year is enough time for some of the kinks to be worked out and for the price to be brought down.
Yeah. And I would be really interested to see what comes 5G like to the home. That would be really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what that does, because if it's good enough that it drives out the big wired ISPs, that'd be cool. Now, of course, realistically, if it starts to drive out the wired ISPs, right, because it's cheaper and still really fast and the latency's good enough to game on, the wired ISPs are going to be gigabit, 2 gigabit, 4 gigabit.
Which would be great.
Which would be awesome.
That would
Please
be better,
do.
yeah.
So, I mean, because wired is still better in terms of throughput, but of course it is more expensive to roll out.
Yeah.
But...
And then next topic, Microsoft announced xCloud, which is their game streaming service. So similar to PlayStation's PlayStation Now, you'll be able to stream your games on PC, consoles, mobile. Essentially, they're just saying that they're getting started on this. Public trials will start next year. That way they can test scaling. One of the things
pretty cool
that they talked about was wanting to be able to test rapid scaling of things. That's important. And then figuring out locations and how they're going to deal with, in more rural areas where they can find like middle ground locations, things like that.
And this is something that actually next week maybe I'll try and bring some info on this. I'm part of Project Stream through Google, which is they're having the new Assassin's Creed game you can play in your Google Chrome web browser if you signed up for this and you got in. And so I'm going to be testing that because I'm interested in cloud gaming and see how it performs. And so kind of looping back on this kind of stuff is Google's getting into the game as well. Which is interesting, and they're working with Ubisoft on it.
Yeah.
But I'll talk about that some next week about my experiences with using that as a platform.
Yeah.
So.
And then the next up, kind of big thing, not in the news, but just like that we're getting pre-order details. The ROG phone is launching soon. Pre-orders go live the 18th of October, which is cool. The pricing is much better than I expected.
Yeah, I'm actually really impressed.
I was thinking $1,100 or $1,200.
I was thinking, like close to like red phone prices. Yeah.
So it's starting out at $899, same price as the Pixel 3 XL,
which
for the 128 gig model.
Yeah, for the hardware you get, it's like, wait a minute. 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage. You're getting a bigger battery. You're getting more ports. You're getting faster hardware, custom bin chip, all this better cooling, all this stuff, and it's just kind of and a faster refresh rate screen.
Yes, with low resolution.
That's true. But just looking at this, it's like that kind of does tell me, the pricing comes from other companies. They're overpricing their stuff.
I don't think it's that they're overpricing it. I think it's that Asus is subsidizing
underpricing
based on this. The accessories are what's going to cost you. So
first, $1,100 for the 512 gig model. We hadn't mentioned that. Yeah. So which is actually for the storage upgrade. That's really not bad.
Yeah. So.
This is where it gets fun. Let's talk about the twin view dock first. Let's do that one first.
Yeah, so the big thing when Asus announced this was that you would have a suite of accessories that you could pick from so that you could get the gaming experience that you want from this phone. The twin view dock was one of the weird ones announced in that it adds a full second screen, another battery.
The same screen, by the way. Yeah.
So we expected this one to be expensive. It's $400.
That's fine.
Yeah. I mean, you're getting like half the hardware of the phone. You're getting a screen with all the controllers and everything for that.
Yeah.
You're getting a
battery.
Pretty large battery, larger than what's in the base phone.
Yeah. And batteries aren't cheap.
Yeah. So I mean, ultimately, like this one, we expected to be expensive.
Yeah.
But the rest of the accessories. Wow.
Accessories. Man, this has been a long podcast.
Yeah, it has. Jeez. The rest of the accessories are where they make their money. The desktop dock, which is an HDMI out port and a couple of USB ports, is $230.
I wish you should take the 2 off of that for that. Now, I want to say something when we're done with this. Though.
Let's say it's a really quality USB-C port, $100.
Yeah, and like a metal dock and all that fun stuff.
Much more reasonable than $230.
Yeah.
What is that?
So the WiGig dock.
Yeah, the WiGig dock, which is essentially it's a wireless dongle for your TV, so you can play wirelessly. $330. Why?
Yeah. The Game Vice controller is $90. Now that's not too horrible. That's overpriced, but not.
It's more expensive than an Xbox controller with a PC dongle for PC. That's absurd.
This is true.
It's literally a crappy controller that grips on the side of it.
Okay, it might not be crappy. It really might not be crappy. Come on.
Let's say it's the quality of the Xbox or PlayStation controller.
Okay, but then you're paying for, the more custom design, the low volume and stuff. But I mean, I'm saying it's not as bad. It's still overpriced. It's not as bad. Yeah. I think $50 would be a fair price for it.
Yes, I agree.
And then
even 60, even if they were selling it at the price of console controllers.
Yeah.
But,
and then the Asus Professional dock.
So this one is essentially an HDMI out port and a gigabit Ethernet port. It's $200.
That's a lot of money. So I wanted to mention, I think I figured out what this comes from.
Mm-hmm.
The phone, they wanted to price it. Now, hold on. The phone, they wanted to price it to try and match the industry in terms of pricing. And in fact, they've actually beat the industry in terms of pricing and what you get for that price.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily think they're losing money on the phone
and
making up for it with accessories, but I think the accessories are overpriced so much because it's helping make up for the R&D for both the accessories and the phone.
And I think this is where they expect most of their profit to come from.
They
were willing to sacrifice profit on the hardware.
Yeah.
In order to get profit on the accessories.
And, all the people that are buying it just for a phone, the small profit's okay, because there's going to be more of those.
Yeah.
But the people that are buying it for a gaming setup are going to want to buy all the accessories for it.
And when you look at, I'd have to see how the prices in China, if they're as comparably ridiculous as they are in the U.S., but in countries like China, South Korea, where gaming on mobile is much more popular, if these prices are the same, those are the markets where they expect to make the bigger sales. And while yes, we see a lot of talk about how, like with China, you want to have cheap phones because that's where the market's at.
Yeah, but there's not a high-end phone out there really.
They've got a lot of pretty good choices nowadays. But the thing is with China that a lot of people don't take into account when they just think like, oh, everyone should have cheap phones, and the industry knows this now, is that yes, China has a lot of very poor people, but China also has a growing middle class.
Yeah.
And so growing middle class that's very into gaming on mobile, perfect product.
So you could have this all tricked out, or you could have a $2,500 gaming PC.
You could have this all tricked out.
And a $1,000 PC and all your setup stuff.
You could have this all tricked out. Or you could have a Pixel Slate with a 2-core i7.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Woo! That's insane. But seriously, that's insane.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking like this isn't really targeted for the U.S. They're selling it here, but
and the tariffs probably play a part in the accessory costs and stuff.
The targeting the targeted markets for this are places where space is limited. Yes. And so the space to set up a PC with a good monitor and stuff doesn't really happen. Doesn't really exist.
That's why there's PC cafes and stuff in a lot of those places.
PC cafes, mobile gaming is very, very popular. You might have like the desktop dock, maybe someone has a laptop and a monitor already.
Yeah.
So that would work. The, WiGig dock is a good one for, sitting down at a TV. And
I think that one's probably a little more American market focused, but yeah.
But it's all... The Twin View, I think, and the Game Vice controller are the most Asia market focused.
Yeah, I think so.
Because they're really about improving that mobile game experience.
Yeah, definitely. And then the very last topic we have for you guys
Speaking of mobile gaming,
speaking of
the best announcement of the week, Stardew Valley is coming to mobile. I love it. Stardew Valley is an amazing game. It's coming to iOS October 24th, Android at some point.
Okay, good job on them on the pricing. Good job.
Yeah, it's $8. It's $12 cheaper than on PC.
I was going to be a little frustrated if it was full price again, because I'm like, then they're just pulling the standard, we'll just buy our game like 12 times. So.
I would have expected 10.
Yeah,
I was surprised they went under 10.
Yeah, 8's a good price.
Yeah, no microtransactions.
Because, I mean, it's a really complicated thing to price something like this, that when it's something that's already been on PC. Because on one hand, you price it too high, you piss off all the people that already bought it that want it again. Mm-hmm. But then, if you price it too low, you're not making enough money from the new people that haven't bought it once. Yeah. They're getting it for cheap, and that could also piss off the people that paid full price for it.
Yeah, because something that's important to note with Stardew Valley on mobile is that it wasn't like the main guy was like, okay, I'm done with Stardew, I'll just port it to mobile.
Yeah.
They hired a full development team to make this on mobile. Apple while he continued his work. So it's like it's a full development team making this.
Yes.
So they've got to make that money back. I think they just expect the volume of game sales with how popular the titles now become.
Yeah.
The volume of game sales will make up for that lower cost.
I think so.
So
Yeah.
I'm very excited. This has been a really great month for iPhone gamers.
I'll say, so before you did mention here, so the files are transferable between Windows and iPhone?
Yes, kind of.
But
So
what about Android?
we don't know yet. They're
Okay.
only talking about iPhone because that's what's releasing. I imagine on Android it'll be
Okay.
even easier.
I would
So,
think. Yeah, I would hope.
Because the way that it works, so when you're transferring from Windows to iPhone, I think it's only one way for one.
Okay, Windows 2, iPhone, not
And it
between.
transfers via iTunes. Because you can't drag and drop into that specific file location. Because
stupid
Apple doesn't
Apple.
want... Well, not even that, because it's not like it's just drag and drop to a general file. Apple doesn't
Okay,
want
true. Yeah,
apps accessible on
Yeah.
Windows. Because what happens if you plug in your phone and then someone grabs data?
Yeah.
Which, that's also one thing, a side note I want to bring up. When we talked about the iPhone charging issue, I found out why, or what that was coming from. It was from an issue with how they were handling... Apple does a lot of protections for plugging in a USB port and making sure that people can't grab the data when it's not locked, when it is locked.
Yeah.
And this was an issue with that
Okay.
because Apple doesn't
That
want like
makes
the
some sense,
FBI to
actually.
plug in your phone and get all your data.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um.
I mean, my phone's fully encrypted, so.
Yeah. So yeah, this ultimately comes down to just transferring it through iTunes. But yeah, I wanted to say it's such a good month for iPhone gamers right now. You've got Civ 6 came out. And
that's not for Android yet, is it?
No.
Okay.
There has been no announcement of plans for that whatsoever.
Oof. Sad face.
And it works very well. It does feel
so
like...
you have it then, yeah?
Yes,
Okay.
because I bought it for iPad.
Oh,
and
so
it
you
just
got...
works,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Because I got it when it was half off on iPad, because they charged full price for the game.
I mean, I think that's fair. If it's as good as it is,
Yeah.
if it feels like Civ. Civ's the kind of game that you could do that
Yes.
with. It's not like it's got crappy controls because it's on a touchscreen. It's
Yeah.
arguably better.
You're talking a full-on premium game experience.
Now, is it like 20 gigs?
Huh? I don't remember.
Because like that's
big.
like... whew.
Yeah, I don't think it's that big.
Yeah, probably lower res textures.
Yeah, I
and
mean, we
stuff.
knew it was coming to mobile when we saw the graphics.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, so lower res textures, there's probably less going on in terms of, you don't have as much performance to
Yeah.
play with, so, because Civil, it'll murder a CPU if you let it.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, it runs very well, so I'm very impressed with that. Now we're getting Stardew on the 24th.
I'm not surprised it runs well, though, thanks to Apple's silicon.
And then on October 30th, Old School RuneScape for mobile launches.
And that's the Android too, right?
Yes.
That one is, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool, very cool.
Very
that might
happy.
be something I'll start playing on a phone, I don't know. Not on my BlackBerry, but...
Oh god. Can you make a video of you playing games on your BlackBerry just as a joke?
just for like, yeah, shits and giggles? Yeah, I could.
We'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So that is it, everybody, for WordCast number 65. This was, I think, the longest podcast we've ever done in history.
Yeah.
This is going to be a huge pain to edit. I'm saying that after, it's already been edited, obviously, but... Whew. Yeah, getting home and editing this tomorrow. That's all I'm doing.
Good luck.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. But anyway, thank you everybody for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and check out all the links in the description. We've got a link to all the sources down there that goes to our website. Has all our source links down there. We've also got a link to our Discord channel because we have a Discord channel now set up. So we're mods. You'll notice the mods up in there. My name's Plain Drop. That's the one that's important. But there's several mods in there, and we're I mean. Come on, no. So because I actually pay attention to it.
I
So
was reading it today.
I'm making fun of you. So anyway, definitely check out the Discord link down there, and also all the other links down there. We've got links to our Google Plus profile, and I'm gonna remove that one. But
Make a subreddit.
Oh, I need to. Yeah. I should make a subreddit too. But other than that,
Also check out our Twitch channels because we did mention that we
yes.
stream on Fridays.
I'm gonna be. Yeah, I did mention that in the channel update. I'm gonna start putting that in the description. Every Friday we stream Destiny 2, and then separately we might.
We need to make sure that we have the multi-stream going as well because we forgot to do that.
Oh, you're right.
So
We need to do that.
we'll have like
yeah.
a
So we'll have like
multi-stream so you
things
can
set
watch
up
both of
nice
us
for
and
you
just
guys.
listen to one of our audios.
Yes. We'll get that set up for you guys, and then Also, him and I will probably start streaming separately more often of other games and stuff too. So definitely subscribe to both, or not subscribe, follow both of us on Twitch. I mean, subscribe if you want, but
We don't have subscribers.
I know that was the joke.
Yeah.
But follow us on Twitch as well if you're interested in that. And that is not all that's also uploaded to our WordTech. My stuff's uploaded to our WordTech gaming channel separately afterwards, so you can watch it after the fact if you're interested. But
I think that's it.
Anyway,
I need to go
that's
to bed because
it.
I've been very scatterbrained today.
Yeah, I have too. Bye everybody. We'll see you all in the next one. This is kind of insane. Look forward to bringing you guys more content, and also look for 1 million cutouts of this podcast for
1
the rest
million.
of this week. 1
If you don't see 1 million, dislike this video.
I mean, cool.